Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall, your host for another adventure so strange and so chilling that we dare say you'll get little sleep this night. At the moment, we're in a shabby little storefront studio near the waterfront of a large city. On the dusty window in hand-painted letters are the words Caro, Reader and Advisor. Reader and Advisor, a comfort to thousands who believe in their powers, and a fraud to the thousands who laugh them off as ridiculous. Martha Hawthorne, however, is one of the thousands who believe, and at the moment, she is seeking help for a desperate situation. Our mystery drama, Black Widow, was written especially for the Radio Mystery Theater by Bob Jurin and stars Robert Dryden and Evie Juster. Standing up for what you believe is right is both honorable and necessary, and it also can be dangerous, particularly if your adversary has very little scruples and a lot to lose should you have your way. Such is the case with John Hawthorne, a top-notch mechanic whose father before him took pride in his work, his friends, and his trade union. And John intends to bring back those better days and stand for what his father stood for.
Hello.
Hello, John.
What do you want, Max?
I don't like the noises you've been making with the rake and file.
You know where I stand.
I'm beginning to, yes. It's come to my attention that, you're even thinking of running for union president.
Not thinking anymore, Max. Am running.
That's my job. Why waste your time? You know you can't win.
I know that damn near the whole membership is fed up with you and that so-called business manager of yours. You see, Max, what I've got that you haven't is the membership on my side.
A membership? Don't act so naive, John. They don't have any say in the union's affairs.
You're right there, Max. And that's been the whole trouble. I intend to give this union back to the members.
We'll see. Let's talk about it in person. After the meeting next Friday.
No, there's no talking to you, Max. We've been trying to talk for 2 years, but you run things your way, and we're fed up with it.
All right, John. Don't get excited. You'll run for president. See what it gets you.
I wondered when Max would start getting worried.
He's not worried, Martha. I am.
That makes two of us. I'm proud of your guts, John. But we both know who Max has behind him, and they play rough.
I'm not afraid of threats. I'm just worried that maybe I can't carry it off.
I still wish you'd reconsider. You have to do what you think is right. I don't want to be a hero's widow.
No. They wouldn't try anything like that. Oh, I expect a little rough stuff, maybe, but I've got my eyes open. And I've got my protection, too.
Oh, John, is it worth it? What's it going to do to Lillian and me?
Nobody's going to get hurt, except Max Conger. He's never had a serious challenge to his authority. We're a small, independent mechanics union that used to be great until Max Conger and his friends got their claws into us.
I know you've been upset about it for months. But let someone else carry the standard.
I have to, Martha. My father was shop steward for years, and now me. The guys just look to me to do it.
Well, I can't say I'm not proud of you. I guess I wouldn't want you any other way.
I'm home.
Hi, Lillian.
Hello, baby.
You home for supper?
If it's quick, Neil's picking me up at 7.
Where are you two heading tonight?
Roller skating, believe it or not. We're meeting June and Fred there.
Aren't they old for roller skating?
I'll get it. Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Hawthorne. Hank Thomas here.
Oh, yes, Hank. You want John?
If he's not busy.
Yeah, I'll take it, Mother. Yeah, Hank.
John, I've got to call a shop stewards meeting tonight. I know it's last minute. Can you make it?
You know I can.
Well, we're running into a problem at the Campbell shop over in Florence. We've got things to work out.
What's the Campbell shop got to do with us?
Well, we're all union brothers.
Yeah, and it suits your purpose.
Okay, John, I know about your talk with Max a little while ago. When you win the election, you can do things your way. Until then, we'll do it mine, okay? See you at 8.
Yeah. Okay, Henry.
Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Hawthorne. Hank Thomas again. I hope John has left yet.
Oh, he did, about 10 minutes ago.
Oh, too bad. I had to postpone that meeting tonight, and I hoped I could catch him.
He's on his way to the Union Hall now.
Well, I'll see him and send him home. Sorry about the inconvenience.
I don't think John will mind.
Well, bye, Miss Hawthorne.
Goodbye.
Good evening, Mrs. Hawthorne.
Good evening, Caro. I'm sorry to bother you for a reading this late, but I'm terribly worried.
I am always at your service, Mrs. Hawthorne. Always. For regular customers who need help from the cards.
My husband went to a union meeting tonight, and that's part of my problem.
Sit down. Let us see what the cards tell us. These cards are the threat. This is your husband. A red king. That is favorable. A red king will triumph over the situation.
Oh, thank heaven. If what?
If the next card is a red jack or a black queen.
The ace of spades.
I'm sorry.
The ace of spades is death.
That is what is in the card.
Oh, dear Lord, I've got to get home.
Mrs. Hawthorne, one moment.
I haven't time.
There is a way. There is a way. You can protect your husband from all harm.
Caro, what are you saying?
There is, well, I hate the word, a spell. It is costly, but it works. With it, he cannot be harmed.
Are you serious?
Very.
Then for heaven's sake, do it. Give it to me or whatever.
It will take 2 days, but it will work.
Do it.
Well, I will need a bit of his hair and a bit of his skin.
His skin?
Oh, just a tiny shaving. Not even enough to draw blood. And a snip of hair.
But how can I get them without his knowing?
That does not matter. Explain it to him. He will agree.
Oh, he'll think I'm crazy.
Find a way to get them. And get them fast if you value your husband's life.
John?
It's me, Mother. Where'd Dad go?
To a shop steward's meeting. But after he left, Hank Thomas called to say it was canceled. I thought your father would be home long before this.
Oh, they probably went for a drink.
They usually do. But the meeting was called off. I'm so...
Mother, what is it? You're shaking.
Lillian, your father's in danger.
Oh, Mother, have you been seeing that Carol person again?
I had to. I had to know what would happen with this union business.
Oh, Dad can handle himself, and you know it. What did your advisor say?
You mustn't tell anyone, Lillian. She's going to give me a spell to protect your father.
A spell? I don't like seeing you this way. Believing something like this would work. Well, it's voodoo. Or worse. It's not going to protect Dad. It's making a wreck out of you.
This union business is making a wreck out of me. If I can find a way to stop it, I will.
Well, this isn't the way to stop it. With witches' spells and...
John forgot his key. Not a word to him about this. Well, how was the... Oh,
Miss Hawthorne?
yes.
Lieutenant Carey, 14th Precinct.
What's happened? John?
What is it, Mother?
Police, ma'am. Mr. Hawthorne met with an accident.
Oh, I'm too late.
What happened?
Hit and run, apparently. No witnesses.
Oh, how bad. I'm his daughter.
Fatal. I'm sorry. Will you come with me, please?
Oh, Mother.
I was too late. I was too late.
Give us a minute, please.
Oh, of course. I'll be outside.
Mother, we have to go to police headquarters.
He's dead. He's dead. And I was too late.
Mother, please. It's time for us. We have to go.
Yes. That's my husband.
There were no witnesses, you say?
Not as far as we know, but someone might come forward. There's always a chance someone saw it happen.
It was no accident, Lieutenant.
If you know something, Miss Hawthorne...
My father was challenging the Union authority.
And suddenly, he's dead on the street. No witness. Nothing to tie them in with it.
Are you making an accusation, Mrs. Hawthorne?
Yes. I'm accusing Max Conger and Hank Thomas of murder.
Well, that may be impossible to prove.
Let's go home, Mother.
Home? What's left of home? Now that
I'll have a car take you back. We'll talk with you both, Miss Hawthorne, when your mother's recovered a little. There's absolutely nothing to link those two men with this case, Miss Hawthorne.
I realize that.
Well, there's always a chance, as I said, of someone coming forward.
Oh, I doubt it. But it would take that, I'm afraid, to pull Mother out of her shock.
Could I see her? Perhaps a different face.
Of course. Don't be surprised if she just stares at you. But then she might respond. Follow me.
Sure. You've had a doctor attend her, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, almost every day. Apparently this happens frequently. He says medication might even make it worse, so he's just waiting for nature.
In your mother's case, there's the bitterness. That makes it all the tougher.
Mother? Mother? But she's gone.
But I thought you said
She hasn't left this room for a week. I talked to her here just an hour before you arrived.
We were right downstairs. How could she get by without our seeing her?
The back stairs. It's possible, but it's not probable. Where would she go?
Now, I have to ask this. Did your father have a gun?
No, not that I know of.
I've got to use your phone, and fast.
A tortured mind is prey to 1,000 tormenting thoughts, and a grief-stricken widow, embittered by what she believes was the murder of her husband, is prey to a host of sinister motivations. We'll learn what's motivating Martha Hawthorne and to what action when I return shortly with Act 2. Martha Hawthorne has at last been motivated. For a week after her husband was killed in a hit-and-run accident, she sat motionless in her room, harboring the bitterness of suspicion, convinced he was murdered by the men he challenged. But for Martha Hawthorne, there was no way to prove it. Now, dressed entirely in black with a widow's veil, she seeks the help she so desperately wants.
Sit down, Mrs. Hawthorne. Well, I was sorry to hear of your husband. We were too late, it seems.
They didn't give me a chance to protect him.
Are you so certain these men were responsible?
I'm certain.
Then would not the police be the ones?
The police can't do anything. There's no proof, no witnesses. That's why I'm here. I want revenge.
If it is in the cards, perhaps.
Not the cards. You know what I want.
Yes.
One that will be as foolproof as theirs.
Are you sure?
I'm certain.
Mrs. Hawthorne, please listen. I have been your advisor for almost 3 years. You are a gentlewoman. What you are doing now is out of grief and bitterness. Wait. Wait a month, and
I will not wait.
Very well. There is a very effective method, and you would be above suspicion.
Exactly what I want.
There is some risk to you.
That doesn't matter.
Come back tomorrow. I shall have it ready. It is in this black bottle. Do not, under any circumstances, open it until the time comes. Until you are ready to use it.
I understand.
The effects are not instantaneous. It takes a while. And it is sometimes unpredictable.
I'll take those chances. The idea appeals to me so enormously. It is so perfect.
Be careful, Mrs. Hawthorne. I must warn you. When the bottle is opened, be very, very careful.
Martha, come in.
I hope I'm not interrupting anything, Max.
Of course not.
I imagine you're surprised to see me.
You're always welcome here, Martha. You know how I felt about John's death.
Your flowers were very thoughtful.
Hit and run's a cowardly thing. If we can find out who killed John and just left him
But
there...
he's conveniently out of your way now. Wouldn't you say whoever did it did you a favor?
Martha, what a thing to say. John was a fine man.
But still a threat to you. And your position.
We had our differences, yes, but to say that...
You don't fool me, Max. Oh, I don't say you were driving the car. But John's death was no accident, and you know it. You arranged it.
You're taking chances with that attractive mouth of yours, Martha.
What you mean is I'll be next?
This is ridiculous, Martha. I wouldn't threaten you.
Nor I you. But if a certain piece of evidence I have proves to be right, I'll drop the proof of John's murder right in your lap.
What evidence?
That's my secret. It's in my garage. You'd know it if you saw it. And it points right to you and Hank Thomas.
I don't believe you.
That doesn't concern me. I came here, Max, because I want you to know I'm not making wild accusations. When I can prove it, and I know I can, I'll do what's fair and right.
Go ahead. You think you can tie me or Hank into this? Go ahead. You're gonna be very sorry, though.
Oh, no, I'm not, Max. You are.
Martha. Hank, Hawthorne's wife was just here and she knows something. I thought you told me you made it clean. Well, something went wrong. Get in here. We gotta talk.
Mother, why can't we have the lights on? And why have you been pacing by that window for an hour?
You'll know when it happens, Lillian. And I'm pretty sure it will.
Why don't you tell me?
Wait. There. Yes. There they are.
Who?
Max Conger and Hank Thomas.
What?
They're heading for the garage. Ah, I knew it.
Mother, I insist on knowing what's going on.
That's it, Max. Ah. Come into my parlor, little flies. I'm ready for you now. I knew you'd prove your guilt.
Mother, should I call the police?
No. Stay right here by the window. Keep watching the garage. Watch everything they do. I'll be back in a few moments.
Where are you going?
Never mind. Just stay here and don't leave the window whatever you do.
It is in this black bottle. Do not, under any circumstances, open it until the time comes. Until you are ready to use it. The effects are not instantaneous. It takes a while. And sometimes it is unpredictable. But be careful, Mrs. Hawthorne. I must warn you, when the bottle is opened, be very, very careful.
What are we looking for?
I don't know, but she said I'd recognize it.
She or the daughter's liable to see us.
There's nobody home. I've been phoning for an hour. No lights in the house. Well, damn.
This is crazy, Max. How could she have any evidence? She's working on your nerves. How could she trace it to us?
I don't know. That's what worries me. Flash your light around, but keep it low. Early.
Look at that.
Yeah. Looks like a black widow.
They're dangerous.
Not if you don't touch him. See? It just sits there.
It gives me the creeps. Let's get out of here.
Not till I find what I came for. The spider's gone. Oh, look at everything. What stands out?
I don't know, Max. But if you're not leaving, I am.
Go then and leave me the light.
Yeah.
Wait. Look.
That black widow spider again. It's right in front of the door.
It won't attack. At least I don't think so. If you touch one by accident, that's when they fight back.
Look at it, though. Takes little steps toward us.
It's disappeared again. They don't like the light, I think. They head for dark corners.
I got chills just looking at that thing. I'm getting out of here, Max.
Okay. There's nothing here. Martha's bluffing.
So, Mrs. Hawthorne, it was effective.
Very. I'll need another one.
Are you sure you want to continue this, Mrs. Hawthorne?
Absolutely certain.
Very well. I shall have another for you tomorrow.
I hope you don't mind my calling on you at home, Max.
It's all right, Martha. Come into the study.
I've decided not to pursue this any longer, Max. I'm not sure I can make my evidence stick.
Sit down, Martha. Let's be friends. John and I were.
John hated your guts, and you know it. I know for certain that you and Hank killed John. But I'm giving up. You won't be seeing me again, Max.
Well, if you want it that way, Martha. But my door is always open to you.
Your courtesy doesn't impress me, Max.
May I drive you home?
No, thanks. It's a lovely night.
Well, then, good night, Martha.
Goodbye, Max.
Be careful, Mrs. Hawthorne. I must warn you. When the bottle is opened, be very, very careful.
I'll be careful. Here's to your health, Max.
Local 48.
Hank,
Hello, Max. What's up?
I just had a visitor. Martha Hawthorne.
Oh?
She's giving up. She knows she can't prove anything. She's finally admitting it.
There's still that nosy detective to deal with.
He hasn't got a... Oh!
Max, what's the matter?
Good Lord.
Max, what is it?
A black spider just landed on my desk.
A spider?
It's a black widow
It is with the phone.
going up the lamp.
Max, you gotta kill it.
I can't move, Hank. I can't move. It's so hideous. Oh,
Max, do something.
it jumped. It's on my neck. Ah! Get off. Get off.
Max.
It
Max.
bit me. I'm bitten. Max. Oh, get an ambulance.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah.
I'm Lieutenant Carey, 14th Precinct. I called on you after John Hawthorne's death.
Yes, sir.
I'd like some information.
So would I. I want to know how Max is. Why don't they tell me?
Mr. Conger died 10 minutes ago.
Max? Dead? I was too late.
You brought him to the hospital?
Yeah, I didn't wait for an ambulance. He was in pain. He was hysterical.
This happened at home?
Yes. Why do you want to know?
Well, a black widow spider death is relatively rare. Did he say anything on the way to the hospital?
No.
Where was he when it happened?
In his den, he called me from there. And I found him on the floor.
It's unusual. Black widows rarely come out like that. They generally stay in their dark corners.
Well, this one didn't. It was awful hearing Max scream like that. I'll never forget it. Wait a minute, Lieutenant.
What is it?
She couldn't have. No.
Who?
Martha Hawthorne. She visited Max last night.
The hit-and-run victim's widow?
Yes.
You think there's a connection?
Well, it's crazy. It's wild. Mrs. Hawthorne accused Max and me of her husband's death.
Yeah, I know.
And last night she went to Max and told him she was, well, withdrawing the accusation.
So?
She was there. And then Max...
Are you suggesting Mrs. Hawthorne brought a Black Widow spider into his home?
It's impossible. But she was there.
I'll have a talk with Mrs. Hawthorne. Since you say she was evidently the last person to see Max Conger alive.
Back again, Mrs. Hawthorne. Well, I read of the man's death in the paper.
You think me a murderer, Carol?
No.
I'm an executioner. That man killed my husband. And I'm not quite finished, Carol. I'll need one more. Just one more.
Martha Hawthorne is a determined woman, and she's chosen a unique method for disposing of her husband's killers. Untraceable. Who can blame a murder on a spider? But through it all, there's one risk to herself that Martha Hawthorne fails to see. We'll see what it is when I return shortly with Act 3. Will you walk into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. 'Tis the prettiest little parlor that you ever did spy. Oh, no, no, said the little fly, to ask me is in vain, for who goes up your winding stair can ne'er come down again. Martha Hawthorne, still bent on avenging her husband's death, has one more victim of her bitterness to dispose of. But the victim is beginning to fear for his life and has suggested to Police Lieutenant Carey that there may be some connection between Martha Hawthorne's visit to Max Conger and Max's subsequent death.
How can I help you, Lieutenant Carey?
It's about the death of Max Conger.
That was dreadful. I make no pretense of liking Max, but I was shocked when I read of his awful death. A spider, oof.
Mr. Conger's associate, Mr. Thomas, says you visited him that night.
I did, that's true. I told Max I was through accusing him. You know the story.
We're still investigating that case, Miss Hawthorne.
I'm trying to forget it. Why don't you?
No, we don't forget hit and run. But back to the reason for my visit.
Yes?
I don't know how to say this, but you visited Max Conger, and a short time later, he was bitten by a deadly spider.
Do I? No, I don't think I understand you right. Are you suggesting that I had something to do with a spider biting Max Conger?
Well, I know it's far-fetched, but we have to take...
Far-fetched? It's insane. How in the world could I catch one, let alone deliver it to Max Conger? Oh, Lieutenant, this is beyond belief.
But the curious thing is the spider. Black widows don't usually come out and climb up on desks. They stay in the darkness.
I know nothing of spider behavior. You're being taken in by Hank Thomas, Lieutenant. He thinks because I accused them that I'm responsible for everything that might happen to them.
You're right. Mr. Thomas is oversensitive, and that, coupled with my own curiosity, I hope you'll forgive me. I won't trouble you again.
I hope not, Lieutenant. I'm finished with the whole business. I'm moving away from here as far as I can.
I think you're wise to do that, Mrs. Hawthorne. Bitterness can really eat you up. I know. I've seen it.
I don't care what you say, Lieutenant. I'm in danger.
Now, Mr. Thomas, Mrs. Hawthorne can't possibly do you any harm.
She did it to Max.
Why are you so sure Mrs. Hawthorne is out to get you, as you put it?
Well, she's a hysterical, bitter woman. And a threat to me.
No, not Miss Hawthorne, Mr. Thomas. But someone is.
What?
The reason I'm pursuing this is because there is something strange. 2 members of the same union meet with accidental deaths within 2 weeks of each other.
There's no one sabotaging the union. John Hawthorne had an accident. His hysterical wife's making waves. Now, if you won't protect me from Martha, I'll set up my own defense.
She told me she was forgetting the whole thing.
Yeah, she told that to Max Conger. And look what happened to him.
There's no way of...
Not for you, maybe. But I know different. That spider was no accident.
All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Mr. Thomas. I'm going to post a guard at your home and your office. No one, including Mrs. Hawthorne, will be able to approach you.
That makes me feel better.
But I can't do it indefinitely. It's just until I can make heads or tails out of this whole thing.
Good afternoon. I'd like to see Mr. Thomas.
I'm sorry, no one's permitted in the office, ma'am.
Why, a police guard. Has something happened to Mr. Thomas?
Lieutenant Carey's orders. No one's allowed to see Mr. Thomas.
He's all right, then.
Yes, and Lieutenant Carey intends to keep him that way.
But I don't understand. I've known Mr. Thomas for years. I'm Martha Hawthorne.
Oh, yeah. Well, sorry, Mrs. Hawthorne, but he said you particularly were to be kept out.
I'm very sorry for him. He must be living in terrible fear. Can you imagine anyone being afraid of me?
Excuse me. Yes, sir?
Oh, it's you. Where's my secretary?
She's gone to lunch, sir.
Well, when she gets back, I'm going home.
Yes, sir.
Hank, what's the trouble?
Who's out there?
It's me, Martha.
Leave, Martha, now.
Oh, Hank, please. Hank? Hank? What's he doing in there?
You all right, Mr. Thomas?
I'm all right.
He's moving furniture against the door.
Oh, no, it's pitiful to see someone so frightened.
There's no danger, Mr. Thomas.
Not anymore. I've got the door barricaded. I'll send her away.
I'll leave now. There's no use.
Mrs. Hawthorne's leaving now, sir.
I feel sorry for him. I really do. So terribly sorry.
Be very careful, Mrs. Hawthorne. I must warn you, when the bottle is opened, be very, very careful.
So Hank Thomas won't see me. Well, we'll see about that. And now here's to your health, Hank.
Mr. Thomas, Mrs. Hawthorne's gone now.
She really gone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but don't let her back in. Not even in the outer office.
Yes, sir.
To send my secretary in with her.
Mr. Thomas, what's the matter?
Get it away! Get it away! Oh, Lord!
Right.
Get it out of here!
I can't open the door. You've got the furniture against it.
He's following me!
If I can just force enough to...
Get it off my back! It's on my back! I can't get it off!
Hold still, I'll get it. Good Lord, it's a Black Widow.
Get it off! Get it off!
Got it. I'll call an ambulance fast. What's the word, Lieutenant?
Dead. Heart failure. What's the matter with you, Joe? I put you there to guard him, and bingo, he gets it with you right under his nose. I ought to have your badge.
Lieutenant, I swear nobody went into that office.
You said Mrs. Hawthorne left shortly before he started screaming?
About 2 minutes. Maybe less.
While she was there, in the outer office, did you see her take anything from her purse?
Oh, not a thing. I can swear to it. She wasn't there more than a minute. He told her to leave.
And she never went into his private office?
I wouldn't have let her. Your orders. Besides, Mr. Thomas had a chair pushed in front of the door. That's why it took me so long to get to him.
I don't understand it. I just don't. Mrs. Hawthorne left the outer office.
She went into the hall.
Then about 2 minutes later, Mr. Thomas screamed.
That's right. I had to force the door, and there he was with the Black Widow spider on his neck. I slapped it off his neck and killed it with a book.
It's more than coincidence this time. I've got to have a talk with Mrs. Hawthorne.
Coming. Who is it?
Lieutenant Carey.
Hello, Lieutenant.
Miss Hawthorne, I must speak with your mother right away.
Oh, she's not here.
Did you know she visited Hank Thomas' office this afternoon?
No. I got home at 6. Mother wasn't here and there wasn't any note. I just assumed she'd gone shopping or something.
Hank Thomas died from a heart attack after being bitten by a Black Widow spider.
Oh, my heavens, no.
It happened minutes after your mother was there. From what I can learn from my guard, your mother never went near the private office.
Well, then...
But this right on top of Max Conger, it's just not coincidence anymore. The two men die in the same way shortly after your mother visited them.
Oh, this is ghastly, Lieutenant. I just can't believe Mother...
It is highly improbable, but how do you explain it?
I don't know. Look, I'll tell Mother you want to see her the minute she gets home.
I'd like to wait, if you don't mind.
Very well. Come on in. I'll get us some coffee. It's not like Mother to be gone so long without phoning.
It's 9 o'clock. Is there a friend she might have visited?
Oh, several. I could call...
Yeah, maybe you'd better. Because in 10 minutes, I'm going to put out an all-point sign.
Oh, there she is. Hello, Mother? Oh. No, she's not here. Who? Oh, yes, I know. Urgent? Why? Oh, then Mother hasn't been there today. Yes, I'll have her call you.
Who was that?
Mother's reader and advisor. Someone named Caro. Oh, she's been going to her for years.
Oh, one of those spooks?
Oh, Mother believes her. Unless she's checked with Caro, she won't... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, dear Lord. I wonder...
What is it?
Well, when Mother thought Dad was in danger, she told me this Caro was going to give her a spell.
A spell?
Yes, a spell to protect him. Oh, I just laughed it off. I mean, advice from the cards is one thing, but could this have anything to do with the spiders?
Where is this Carol?
Well, I don't know exactly. Somewhere near the waterfront, I know that.
I'll find her.
Welcome. What can Carol do for you?
I'm Lieutenant Carey.
Police?
Now, don't get upset. Just a few questions. Mrs. John Hawthorne is a client of yours?
Yes, for several years. But what is the trouble? Has something happened to Mrs. Hawthorne?
No. But her daughter says you were going to give Miss Hawthorne a spell to protect her husband.
Some believe, some do not.
Did Mrs. Hawthorne ask for another spell? Something involving spiders?
Then you know.
2 men have died from Black Widow spider bites shortly after Mrs. Hawthorne visited them.
When did the second man die?
This afternoon. My man killed the spider, and we've taken it to
The spider was killed?
Yeah, it's in the lab for study.
Oh, no. I warned her to be careful. I told her to be careful.
And you did supply Mrs. Hawthorne with deadly spiders?
No.
But you're saying...
I did not give Mrs. Hawthorne spiders.
Well, what did you do, then? It's obvious that this whole thing started here.
She came to me for a deadly weapon, yes. She wanted revenge.
And you gave her the spider?
No! I told you I did not. How could an ordinary spider be depended on to do what she asked?
Yeah. That's been bothering me.
I gave Mrs. Hawthorne a potion.
A potion?
It was an elixir that caused certain changes in her appearance. Oh, it's a very old formula. Oh, dear God. killed. I told her to be careful. Lieutenant, you will not see Mrs. Hawthorne again.
What are you saying?
Must I spell it out, Lieutenant, word for word? The potion, for a short period of time, actually turned Mrs. Hawthorne into
Spiders have always given me the chills. They all serve their purpose in the scheme of things, I suppose. But I'm glad they prefer to stay in their dark corners. Most of them, at least. I prefer to give them a wide berth, and I'd suggest you do the same in the future. I might also suggest that you think twice before killing one again. You never can tell. It might just be someone you know. Well, perhaps you'll sleep tonight after all. Our story was pure fantasy, of course. No one can actually turn into a spider, no matter how potent the potion. But wouldn't it be fun? You wouldn't have to worry about the fuel shortage, the energy crisis, or inflation. Just where your next fly was coming from. It is fun to stretch our imaginations, though, isn't it? And that, of course, is what Radio Mystery Theater is all about. Our cast included Robert Dryden, Evie Juster, Hetty Galen, Jackson Beck, and Dan Ocko. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams. Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to the future, because the story you're about to hear is a tale of mystery, crime, and adventure in a world 60 years older than our own. Whether that world is 60 years wiser is a question you'll have to answer for yourself. But we want to warn you right now that you might not like our futuristic hero very much. You may even dislike him a great deal. For after all, he is a criminal, a swindler, a con man, a fugitive, and perhaps something even worse. All we ask is that you don't judge him until the last sound is heard. Our mystery drama, The Night We Died, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Henry Slessor and stars Bob Reddick and Joan Shea. It's the year of our Lord, 2043. It's a vastly different world in many respects. In others, particularly in respect to human nature, it's a world very much like the one we know. We think you'll recognize the kind of human Toby Kane is. A man with an ugly past and an uncertain future. But there were two things you could predict about the future of Toby Kane. One was that he wouldn't be called Toby Kane for very long. Two, that there would be trouble ahead.
Yes?
Harry, Sam.
How the heck are you, Harry?
It's not Harry. You know my name is Toby Kane. That's the name you called me at the hotel, right?
Yeah, sure, that's right. Oh, you make it tough on a guy keeping up with you, Harry. I mean, Toby.
I'd like to know how you kept up with me, Sam. How did you know I'd left Callisto? Who told you my new name?
Mutual friends, Toby. Everybody knows that you gave Moffat the slip again. That cop's going to get awful sick of chasing you.
He won't be chasing me anymore. Harry Rentlow is dead. He committed suicide on Callisto.
Sure, I get the idea. Listen, Toby, you must be pretty strapped by now. Could you use some high financing?
You offering me a loan, Sam?
Heck no, I'm offering you a project. I could use some experienced help. Can I see you at the hotel tonight?
All right. Meet me in the Neptune Lounge.
Oh, that's great, Harry. Look forward to it.
The name is Toby. Toby Kane.
I swear, I wouldn't have known you, pal. That surgeon you used. Hey, tell me something. How many face changes have you had?
I don't remember. 3, 4?
That face of yours must be pretty tired by now.
Get to the point, Sam. What's the project?
Well, it's a phony stock deal. The old classic asteroid mines, you know.
Sure, I know. I practically invented it. Who's the fish?
A rich widow named Sorensen. Her husband was a major, killed during the moon revolt. He left her some 500,000 credits when he died. She was looking for a safe investment with a counter-inflationary return. In other words, the old dame was looking for a killing. Greedy people in this world, Toby.
What went wrong?
Some crook came along and killed the deal.
What crook?
Some phony medium. Old Lady Sorensen's a great believer in the spirit world. And this Madam What's-Her-Name told her that her husband didn't approve of the investment. I don't even know who she is. I've spent 3 months cultivating this deal, and now it's frozen.
Maybe this medium has her own plans for Sorensen's credits. Maybe you could arrange a split.
How, when I don't even know her name?
Well, there are ways to find out. Give me Mrs. Sorensen's full name and address.
Come on in, Toby. Hey, Vanessa, he's here.
Well, hello, Mr. Kane.
Hello?
Sam tells me you've come up with a solution to our problem.
Vanessa knows the whole scam, so you can trust her all the way.
I didn't say I had the complete solution. What I have is the name of the medium.
How'd you get it, Toby?
Oh, it was easy. Mrs. Sorensen was a rich widow, right? Rich widows have their habits, like taking a Mars cruise, for instance. I called Mrs. Sorensen and spoke to her maid. Said I was from the White Line Cruise Company and wanted to clear up our records on her Mars trip. Sure enough, she took the trip in 32.
But how did that help you?
The next thing I did was write Mrs. Sorensen a letter. I've got a copy right here. Dear Mrs. Sorensen, I doubt that you'll recall me, since 10 long years have gone by since our late meeting. But I still recall with pleasure our delightful chats aboard the Mars cruise, particularly concerning our mutual interest in the spirit world.
Oh, wait a minute, Toby.
Now, let me finish. When we became acquainted on the voyage, perhaps I mentioned my dear wife. I am saddened to report that she passed on to the great beyond a few months ago, leaving a great void in my heart. However, recognizing the eternal nature of the spirit, I am not completely desolated. My one problem now is to locate a trustworthy medium who can bring my dear Agnes back to me.
You mean she actually replied to that?
She thought she did remember me. And she gave me the name of the lady who's querying the stock deal. It's Olivia Nemo, South Court Street, New York City.
Oh, terrific. I'll go see this phony and make a deal.
I've been to see her, Sam.
Well, what did she say? Will she make a deal?
No. Mrs. Nemo's not a very cooperative type. I suspect she has her own ideas about Mrs. Sorensen's investments. That's why she's spending so much time gaining her trust.
What do we do now?
Well, I think it's simple enough. We offer the lady more than Mrs. Nemo is offering.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, I know that the lady doesn't attempt to bring back any image of Mrs. Sorensen's late husband.
Oh, well, Mrs. Sorensen wouldn't be fooled by some phony ectoplasm stuff.
But what if Mrs. Sorensen actually saw her dead husband? Saw him just the way he looked when he was alive, but yet obviously now part of a heavenly community.
What are you getting at, Mr. Kane?
Well, I've written one more letter to Mrs. Sorensen. from the same old ship companion. Dear Mrs. Sorensen, thank you so much for recommending your friend Mrs. Nemo. However, since writing you, I discovered the most remarkable medium I've encountered in all my 70 years. A man named Shan Kazar, who has produced the beloved image of my wife Agnes right before my eyes. The living image, moving, talking, smiling, expressing her serenity and joy in the hereafter.
Oh, for heaven's sake. But who is this Shan Kazar?
Well, can't you guess, Vanessa? It's me.
Come on in, George. Can't tell you how good it is to see you.
That's good to see you, too, Phil.
I'll tell you one thing, George. Those plastic surgeons did one heck of a job. You look great.
As you know, that fire bullet didn't just burn off my features. It did a pretty good job of my mind. I couldn't tell them what I used to look like because I didn't know.
Sure, I remember, but what the heck? Here you are, and here I am.
Well, some other things are different, Phil. You stayed in the Army. Hey, I see I have to call you Colonel now.
Tell me what I can do for you. If it's possible, I'll do it. You know that.
Well, it's a kind of unusual request, Phil. It's about those holographic image identifications they made during the Moon Revolt.
The HIDs? Sure, I remember. The Rebs were doing such a great job of infiltration that security insisted on three-dimensional projection holographs of every officer.
They're pretty spooky, aren't they? You could swear the person was in the same room with you. Are they still on file?
Sure, someplace. Why?
Because there's one that I want to borrow. The holograph of a major named John Sorensen of the 1st Moon Division.
Well, I don't know. The Moon Revolt was 5 years ago. Records are all in the Pentagon vaults.
But you can do it, can't you?
Well, I do have a good buddy in personnel. All right, I'll do my best.
So you're a Moon Revolt veteran, Mr. Kane. I don't think I've met one of those in years.
Well, not many Moon veterans like to admit it. It wasn't the most glorious action in military history.
Sam told me you were very badly wounded.
Yes, my face.
Oh, how awful.
Well, maybe not. For all I know, the surgeons gave me a lot better face than I had originally.
You really don't remember?
I remember very little before that fire bullet hit.
Oh, it's dreadful. I mean, the whole war was just sickening.
The Moon colonists got the nutty idea that they ought to be an independent nation.
Didn't they realize that they'd never had a chance?
It took 2 years just the same. 2 very bloody years. I still remember hearing about that horrible night. The mass suicide. It was only a few days after the surrender. All the leaders of the revolt, I guess they decided they'd rather die than face trial. All those bodies piled up in the crater Aristarchus.
Oh, it gives me the shivers to think about it.
Have you ever seen his statue?
Whose?
The man they call Arrigo, the leader of the revolt. There's a statue of him at the base of the crater. The only reminder left of what happened there.
Oh, it's funny, isn't it? When the revolt was happening, everybody hated that man, Arrigo. But now I suppose we all think of him as some kind of hero.
All martyrs become heroes, I guess. But when they sent me to the moon, all I cared about was getting off alive.
And now? Now, what do you care about, Toby?
Staying alive, the best way I know how. And if that means fleecing a rich old widow, here's to the fleecing.
I hope you know what you're doing, Toby.
My name is Shan Kazar.
Yeah, but your name might turn into a number if this HID thing doesn't work.
It does work, Sam. It's unbelievable. Oh, Mrs. Sorensen is here.
All right, get behind the curtain, Sam. Pull the switch when I give the signal. Remember now, the key word is light.
Come in, Mrs. Sorensen. I hope I'm not late. Oh, no, you're just in time. Mrs. Sorensen, let me introduce you to Shan Kazar.
I am delighted to meet you, madame.
I'm very pleased to meet you, Mr. Kazar.
If you can really bring poor John back to earth, even for a moment.
Mrs. Sorensen, I promise that you will not be disappointed. The spirits are present. I can see something glowing in the darkness. It's a light from the other world. Can you see it, Mrs. Sorensen?
Oh, yes, I see something. Someone. Oh, dear God in heaven, it's him. It's my husband.
Edith, my darling.
Oh, John, it's really you.
Edith, my sweet, I am well and happy. I have found peace here.
What is it like, John? Where are you? Oh, please, tell me.
Do not ask me such questions, Edith. You must guard your health and your finances. You must take care of the money I left you.
Yes, I will.
You must invest it, Edith. Invest it wisely.
But how, John? You told Madame Nemo.
No, do not believe that woman. She is an impostor, Edith. This is the first moment I have spoken to you from the other side.
But what about the money? Should I invest it in those asteroid shares?
Yes, my precious wife. I have had a glimpse of tomorrow. You will be wealthy. You will continue to have the earthly comforts I wish for you until the hour of our reunion.
John, you're beginning to fade.
I must go now, Edith. I must return.
Wait! One more moment.
He is going, Mrs. Sorensen. Back to beyond the curtain.
Oh, it was marvelous, Toby. You absolutely gave me the creeps.
I've really got to give you credit. You're still the best in the business.
Well, let's wait for the payoff, Sam. Let's get that money in our hands before we congratulate each other.
Oh, do you want me to get that?
No, I'll take it. Hello?
Toby, it's Phil Digby.
Yes, Phil. How are you?
Listen, Toby, about that HID projection.
It really did the trick. You don't know how much you helped Mr. Sorensen.
I just don't know what went wrong. My friend in the Pentagon goofed.
Goofed? What are you talking about?
The holograph reel was the wrong one. It was a Major Warrenberg of the 6th Infantry. He isn't even dead. He's retired up in Nova Scotia. Toby, you there?
Yeah, Phil, I'm here. And, don't worry about it. The old lady's eyesight wasn't that good. I guess the uniform was enough.
Wow, that's a relief. Then you don't want the right reel.
No, that's okay. It's all over now. And thank you again, Phil.
What is it, Toby?
Is something wrong?
Oh, I don't know. But that wasn't Major Sorensen the old lady saw. And I don't think her eyes were that bad. She knew I wasn't Oriental even with this makeup on. What I'd like to know is, who's playing tricks on who?
Toby Kane is a man who is used to having things go the way he planned. But suddenly a victim of a swindle has done something unexpected. Mrs. Sorensen has been fooled too easily. And Toby Kane has learned that nothing comes that easy. Not even in the world of 2043. We'll return to that world with Act 2 shortly. Toby Kane, con man, has a disturbing riddle to solve. Why did Mrs. John Sorensen react so quickly to the ghost of a man who was clearly not her husband? Toby brooded about it for the next 24 hours. But then something happened that gave him something else to think about. A familiar visitor came to his door.
Mr. Kane?
Yes, who...
My name is Moffat, Mr. Kane. I'm with the Interplanetary Police. May I come in?
Would you mind telling me your business?
I'll tell you inside, if I may. Truth is, Mr. Kane, I'm here to do you a favor.
What kind of favor?
How long have you known Mr. Sam Thumbs?
Sam? About a month. I met him at a party.
That's what I thought.
Why, what's the trouble?
Mr. Kane, I'll be candid with you. We ran a fast check on Mr. Thumbs' associates. We couldn't find you among them. So we figured you were a recent acquaintance and possibly his next victim.
Victim? Of what?
Well, I'm sorry to tell you that Sam Thumbs is a confidence man. He's been indicted for grand larceny some 4 times in his career. He's never been sent to jail because his victims were too involved in his schemes to testify against him. But he's still a criminal, and he may be out to defraud you.
Well, I certainly appreciate this warning, Sergeant.
Captain. My title is Captain Moffat.
Well, I promise you that I'll be very careful. Yes, very careful. From now on.
Yes?
Mrs. Sorensen, I'm the one who called this morning.
Oh, yes. You said your name was... what again?
Kane. Toby Kane. However, my name was George Spanner when I served with your late husband in the 1st Moon Division.
Yes. Won't you come in?
Very good of you to see me, Mrs. Sorensen. Oh, I see you have a portrait of your husband.
Yes.
Well, he's certainly a fine-looking man.
Mr. Spanner? Or Kane, or whatever you call yourself. Would you kindly tell me why you wish to see me?
Well, as I said, your husband and I were in the same hospital together.
That simply is not true.
Pardon?
My husband was killed at the Battle of Pluto Crater. He was never brought to any hospital. He died instantly. Now, just what is it you want?
All right, Mrs. Sorensen. I'll put my cards on the table. I understand that you're interested in purchasing stock in the Saturnian Asteroid Company, and that you've been talking to a man named Sam Thumbs.
Why should that be any business of yours?
Because I believe I can save you a great deal of money. I know certain things about Mr. Thumbs and about this asteroid mining project.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kane, but I am not interested in what you have to say.
But you can give me a chance.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm giving you one chance to leave this place before I call the police.
Sam, something is wrong here. Very wrong. Now tell me again, how did you get the lead on old lady Sorensen?
It was Vanessa.
Vanessa?
So what?
Well, didn't it ever occur to you that Vanessa might have been part of a police trap? Did you ever stop to think she might have been working for my old friend Moffat?
Moffat's on Callisto.
He's on Earth, here. A few hours ago, he was in my hotel room trying to protect me from you.
Oh, Vanessa's okay, Toby. I swear it. Listen, it was her idea to get you into the act.
What did you say?
It's true. Vanessa was the one who told me that you were available.
Oh, you fool. Don't you see what that means? How could Vanessa know so much about me unless the cops told her?
Toby, I just don't understand why you're so upset when everything is going just the way we planned.
The way who planned, Vanessa? Tell me how you knew about my escape from Callisto.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
I didn't even know you were George Spanner or Harry, whatever you called yourself. It was Sam who found out you were back on Earth.
That's not what he says.
Toby, the only reason I stayed interested in Sam was because he was your friend. Because I wanted to get close to you. This close.
Oh!
Oh, darling, I'm so sorry. These long fingernails of mine, they scratched your neck.
Now you can scratch your memory. You can tell me if you know a cop named Captain Moffat.
Don't do this, Toby. Be nice to me the way I want to be nice to you. Kiss me, Toby. Toby, aren't you feeling well?
I feel dizzy all of a
Oh,
sudden.
you poor darling. Come, sit down.
My neck is burning.
Oh, these awful cat claws of mine. I really should cut them down, shouldn't I?
I can't see straight anymore.
Oh.
You did something to me. Stuck a pin in my neck.
Toby, sit here. Don't fall and hurt yourself.
Drugged. You've drugged me with something. I can't see. Can't stand up.
18 hours.
What?
18 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh, Moffat, you here?
Yes, I'm here, my friend. Luckily for you. Must have been a powerful drug they used. Not enough to kill, however. My only regret is that we didn't catch them in the act.
What are you talking about?
I've been keeping a tail on Thumbs and his girlfriend for the past week.
His girl? You mean Vanessa isn't working for you?
Those two are in business for themselves, Mr. Kane. Or, should I say Mr. Murchis? Or Mr. Snapper? You pick the name, my friend. You have plenty of them.
The name is Kane. Toby Kane.
It's funny, you know. I've been chasing you for 5 years. From Earth to Saturn to Callisto. And then I catch you by helping you get out of a jam. Life's little irony.
You've made a mistake, Captain.
Oh, forget it, Kane. We've already run you through a computer ID. We know who you are. Now, if you help me, I'll help you. I'll guarantee you full amnesty for any past offense. I'll promise you immunity for any crime you've committed. And that's a long, long list.
What's the catch?
Just what you might expect. The assignment I'd want you to handle is difficult, dangerous. Do you know why you were drugged, Kane? Because you must have found out too much about them. You must have stumbled onto something they want very much to conceal.
What's that?
Their real identities. Not Sam. No. He's exactly what he seems to be. A hopelessly inept con man, hardly worth the paperwork it would take to arrest him. But the other, Vanessa, and Mrs. Sorensen.
Mrs. Sorensen? What does she have to do with this?
Well, they're members of the most dangerous subversive group on Earth. We have good reason to think they and their friends are ready to commit treason.
Treason? Against who?
Against the entire world, against the planet Earth.
Why, you're crazy. Are you saying those two women are plotting another moon revolt?
Oh, not alone, I assure you. There may be hundreds or even thousands of others ready to repeat the same madness of 5 years ago. We think that both of these women are related to the men that we thought had died in the crater Aristarchus.
Thought they died? Their graves are there.
Yes. But we're beginning to doubt the identities of the men buried in those graves. Now, we've begun to suspect that the Earth forces were victimized by a hoax. A con game, if you like.
You mean they're still alive? Arrigo and the others?
No, we don't know how many, maybe only a handful. But I want you to continue to play the game you've always played, but this time on our side of the law.
What game?
Well, I want you to continue to be a cheat, a swindler, a liar, a pretender. Only I want you to victimize a very special group of suckers. A group we've observed closely for the past year. Now, we know their habits. We know their meeting place. We know everything. Except their plans for the moon. And that's what I want you to find out.
Well, why should I be successful?
Because you're going to have another face change, Kane. An official one this time. Here, we want you to look like the man in this photograph.
My God.
That's right. It's the man they call Arrigo. Here's the printout. Now, you take these, Kane. They contain every available fact in the life of Arrigo. 10 biographers couldn't have collected so much data if they'd conducted 10 years' worth of research apiece.
Well, it's still not going to work. Even if I learn every single fact there is to know, there'll be other facts that could trip me up.
Yes, we recognize that possibility.
It won't be enough to have Arrigo's face, even his voice and memory and manner. There are certain things about people, things that can't deceive those who are close to them.
Yes, but they'll want to believe, Kane. Don't you see? These people have been waiting for Arrigo as if he was some kind of messiah, come to rescue them from oppression. Oh, they'll welcome you without suspicion.
A million things can go wrong.
Yes, and then you're a dead man. Well, it's the gamble you'll have to take or reject.
The alternative, of course, is jail.
Yes, a prison asteroid, Kane. You live out the rest of your life on a barren rock in space.
And if I do this thing, amnesty?
That's correct.
What a shame. And I was just getting to like this face.
There's an old saying that one must set a thief to catch a thief. But does it really apply here? Can a swindler, a con man, and a criminal have enough brains and heart to overcome a group of dangerous insurgents? Can Toby Kane walk into their midst and learn their most important secrets? Or will he die in the attempt? We'll find out shortly in Act 3. It was 3 months before Captain Moffat of the Interplanetary Police was able to put his plan into action. The actual face change took only a week. The recuperation took 2 weeks. But the rest of the time was spent in educating Toby Kane to talk, think, and feel like the rebel called Arrigo. Finally, they knew there was nothing further they could do but send Arrigo on his mission, beginning with the first name on top of the list of suspected sympathizers.
Come in, Mr. Duncan. Won't you sit down?
Thank you, Doctor.
Well, shall we get right down to it? I always believed that...
Something wrong, Doctor?
No, it's nothing. It's just that for a moment you looked rather familiar, like someone I knew a very long time ago.
I see. Can I take this chair?
Oh, yes, please. We'll just talk informally at first. You can tell me what your problem is, and I'll tell you whether or not I believe that psychotherapy can be helpful.
Well, I'm not sure I can describe the problem. I've been having fits of depression lately. Been having strange dreams every night.
Yes, can you describe one of these dreams?
Well, last night, for instance, I dreamed that I was walking in outer space, surrounded by stars and meteors. I was just alone.
What?
But then I looked below me and saw a soft, glowing object. It looked warm and friendly and inviting. Once I had been afraid of it. Once I had thought of it as being cold and airless and alien. But now I knew it was home.
And what was this object?
It was the moon. And it was mine.
Who are you?
Does this dream mean anything to you, Doctor? If it doesn't, then I think we're wasting each other's time.
Who are you?
I'm a ghost, Doctor. A ghost from Aristarchus. But a very solid ghost. Here, take my hand.
Arrigo. Arrigo!
Yes, Doctor, Arrigo. I've been a long time getting back.
But we were so sure that you were killed.
I survived. Now I'm here. And now I'm ready to help. I've heard that there are plans, Dr. Sullivan.
Oh, yes. There are good plans. This time we won't make the same mistakes. We're going to be ready before we strike.
And when will that be?
Well, the date hasn't been set. There's been too much disagreement among the members of the Central Committee. But now, maybe now, with a new leader among us.
How, Doctor? How will it begin?
Well, in the only way left to us, Arrigo, we won't begin on the moon, but on Earth.
Earth?
We're beginning right here, preparing our weapons right in the camp of the enemy.
What weapons do you have?
Moon-to-Earth missiles with atomic warheads, the weapons we should have had before the revolt. The only weapon that will give us the iron fist we need to make our voices heard. By the time we're ready to declare the moon a sovereign power, we'll be pointing the warheads at the continents of Earth. We won't fire them if our demands are met.
And if not?
Then we'll make sure that Earth never forgets the price of tyranny.
But how can you build these missiles? Where?
Well, I'll show you, Arrigo.
How strange, Doctor. So much noise in a hospital.
Well, this is a very unusual hospital, Arrigo. Populated by a very unusual breed of lunatics.
Lunatics? Yes.
The idea came to us 5 years ago. What would be a better hiding place for our activities than a mental home? So we built this hospital and filled its rooms and wards only with patients marked by that special madness of the moon children.
It was a brilliant idea.
Well, what you see here is only the tip of the iceberg. That noise you hear comes from below, from an underground missile factory. We'll go on a tour of inspection later, but right now, we have a meeting to attend.
Then we were expected.
I've alerted all the members of the Central Committee. They're in the main conference room. I don't have to tell you that this is a great moment for all of us. Please come this way. Ladies and gentlemen, Arrigo.
You fools! This is not Arrigo. This is not my son.
No, wait. You must give him a chance.
You think I wouldn't know my own son? This man is an imposter, an impersonator. You've been duped by a police spy, Selwyn.
But I've talked to him. I've asked him questions that no one but Arrigo himself could answer. Well, you must remember it's been years since you've seen him, Mrs. Sorensen.
Mrs. Sorensen? So that's what you're calling yourself now, Mother, huh? Whatever happened to the name, Mrs. Lincoln?
You think you're very clever, don't you?
I remember how you picked that name. Out of an old history book. Where did you get Sorensen from, Mother?
You think you can convince me, don't you? But you're wrong, the imposter. You really are my son. Sing it. Sing the song we used to sing together when you were a little boy.
I don't think I can remember it.
My son would never forget that song.
Well, it's been so many years.
Arrigo would never forget. But Arrigo is dead. And you must die, too.
Now, wait. Listen to me. Mother, if you'll just look at me more closely. Like this.
Look out! He's got her! Don't shoot! You'll hit Mrs. Sorensen.
That's right, everybody. You'll hurt your friend, Mrs. Sorensen. And if you don't let me out of this place, I'll hurt her myself.
She's an old woman.
Yes, and I haven't killed an old woman for days. And I'm feeling the urge right now. So let me out.
As
This is marvelous, Kane. Absolutely marvelous. With this information, you can wipe out this nest of rebels in 6 hours.
They were so anxious to believe that Arrigo had returned that they forgot to be cautious.
Well, you've done a magnificent job, Kane. A magnificent job for us and for the entire world.
I don't want any medals, Captain. I just want that freedom you promised me.
Well, a medal would be a lot easier.
What was that?
Freedom is the only thing I can't grant you, Kane. I know I made you promises.
What are you talking about? What's that gun for?
I wish things could be different, Kane. You've accomplished something that I could never have done by myself. You saved thousands, perhaps millions of lives. But that doesn't blind me to the fact that you're a criminal. A dangerous criminal who can't be turned loose in society.
I can't believe this. After you swore...
The only oath I've ever taken sacred is the oath of my office.
Well, you're not sending me to any prison asteroid, Moffat. You'll have to kill me.
I'm a policeman, Kane, not an executioner. But I can be both if you force me.
Well, then you'll have to be both.
Don't try to...
Are you all right? Have you been hit?
My leg.
Stay where you are. I'll get a doctor.
Vanessa, you killed him. You killed Moffat.
To save you. And to save us.
Well, then you're one of them, too, the Moon Rebels.
Mr. Sorensen told me what happened. I thought you might return here, that you would never meet Moffat on his home ground.
Well, then why don't you kill me, too? I know as much as Moffat does.
Please try to understand. They didn't know who you were at the hospital. They didn't know you were Toby Kane.
Toby Kane? That doesn't make any sense.
Mrs. Sorensen didn't know you were Kane. That's why she accused you of being an imposter.
I don't understand.
Listen, and listen hard. I was the one who got Sam Thumbs to send for you. I drugged you because we planned to kidnap you, to take you to the hospital where we hoped to restore your memory, to help you recall the past.
And they tried that at the Army hospital.
Yes, we know. Your memory was destroyed the night we died in the crater Aristarchus. Most of us escaped, but you were brought down by a fire bullet. You were wearing an Earth uniform so that you were mistaken for one of them and brought to a hospital on Earth. We didn't know the true facts then. We thought you'd been killed. But after the war, we found records. Records that made us believe that you were alive, Arrigo. Truly alive.
Arrigo?
Yes. You're Arrigo. The face you wear is your own face. What an ironic joke on Captain Muffet. He gave you back the face you were born with.
And Mrs. Sorensen?
Your mother. She did believe you were an imposter because she knew that her son was wearing the face of Toby Kane. She never expected to see Arrigo with his own face.
Well, I can't believe it. I don't remember anything before the hospital. They had me convinced that I was an Earth soldier. I never knew why I hated the facts so much.
You will remember. We need you to remember. We need you to lead us. And I need you to love me. Look at me, Toby Kane, Arrigo. I am your wife.
Here it is, Colonel. The recorded message from the moon base.
Put it on the screen, you idiot. Let's hear what this madman has to say.
Yes, sir.
I can't understand it. A whole garrison of moon troops surrendering without firing a shot. And now this lunatic with his demands.
All ready, Colonel.
Well, play it.
My name is Arrigo.
It is him.
My name is Arrigo. And I am spokesman for the Provisional Government of Luna. The moon is no longer a satellite of Earth. From this day forward, the moon is an independent world with full sovereign powers to choose its own leaders and determine its own future. We are prepared to defend this independence with our lives because we are the children of the moon. And the moon is ours.
And so the children of the moon, the lunatics whose first revolt failed have once again asserted their right to independence. Will it succeed this time? Have they prepared themselves enough to convince the powers of Earth to let them find their own destiny? The answer to that question is in another story and another time. I'll be back shortly. Will it ever really happen? Now that man has walked on the moon, will the next step be colonization? Will the moon become a new homeland where men will live in an artificial atmosphere, eclipsed by the great green globe of Earth, and yet become strangely devoted to the cold and rocky world they call home? Stranger things have happened. Our cast included Bob Reddick, Joan Shea, William Griffiths, and Jackson Beck. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
News. In what looked like a military assault, Dutch authorities have stormed a train in northern Holland where Moluccan gunmen have held 51 hostages for nearly 20 days. This is Doug Poling reporting on the CBS radio network. At least 5 Dutch Air Force jets buzzed the area near the train, dropping what appeared to be smoke bombs. Ground troops laid in heavy machine gun fire in a desperate attempt to rescue the 51 hostages. The assault began shortly before dawn Saturday Dutch time. CBS News correspondent Bob McNamara was nearby.
The machine gun fire was very intense for perhaps, I would say, a good 3 to 4 minutes. As I say, we cannot see fire, anything of the sort coming from the train. We're approximately 3/4 of a mile away from it. Now again we can hear small arms fire coming from the vicinity of the train. For 20 days, ever since the train was taken, Dutch Marines and commandos have moved in around the train and surrounded it. There have been reports off and on that the soldiers have gone into the train, gone in the vicinity, right near the train, even perhaps under it, attaching listening devices. They've been watching the train night and day with infrared cameras. They know the movements of the terrorists, and this moment that the relatives of the hostages have dreaded has now come.
It's not known yet if there have been casualties in the assault. It's being reported many people have now come out of the train and ambulances were standing by. In a coordinated attack, Dutch units also attacked a school not far away where the Moluccans were holding 4 teachers hostage. On Friday, Dutch Premier Joop den Uyl said efforts to negotiate with the Moluccans had failed, and he hinted that military action would be coming. The Moluccans had been demanding independence for their homeland in Asia. More news in a moment. James Earl Ray, the convicted assassin of Martin Luther King Jr., escaped Friday night from the maximum security state prison in Petros, Tennessee, where he was serving a 99-year sentence. Ray and 6 other men used a homemade ladder constructed from wire and climbed over the prison wall in a hail of gunfire from guards. One of the inmates was wounded and recaptured, but the others, including Ray, are still at large. A massive manhunt with state, local, and federal officials using bloodhounds is underway in the rugged mountain country of eastern Tennessee. Attorney Percy Foreman, who once represented Ray, says he was not surprised.
I knew that James Earl Ray would keep trying every opportunity he had to escape. He has a history of that, And in fact, he told me that he would be out within 2 years. He didn't quite make it, but I knew that every chance he had, he would attempt to get out.
Foreman was one of several lawyers hired and fired by Ray who tried once before unsuccessfully to escape from the Tennessee prison. James Lazar, the lawyer who represented Ray before the Supreme Court, says he was not surprised. Lazar says after 7 years of constant struggle to gain a hearing and reopen his case, Ray concluded that the court's claims to justice were farcical. President Carter has accused Congress of succumbing to the auto and oil industries and rejecting key parts of his energy program. The president says it'll be the people of the country who will suffer and will pay for special interest victories. Mr. Carter also denounced the vote of a congressional panel to deregulate the price of natural gas. The president says if that becomes law, it'll cost the consumers $71 billion over the next 8 years. Doug Poling, CBS News.
News Radio 78, WBBM, Chicago.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. The act of trust seems to get short shrift from the poets, the philosophers, and even the prophets. An early American sage warns us to trust everybody but cut the cards. The book tells us, put not your trust in princes. Very well and very good, but you have to trust somebody. Can anyone go all the way through this life without trusting another human being? Our mystery drama, Can You Trust Your Husband?, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Joan Lovejoy and Mandel Kramer. Somehow, love seems to have become the province of the young. Ask almost anyone to name two people who were deeply in love, and the answer almost automatically is Romeo and Juliet. Well, let's face it, Romeo and Juliet were a couple of teenagers who only knew each other for a brief interval. They conveniently died before they would have to weather the storms of marriage and responsibility. The lovers of record should be Philemon and Baucis, or Darby and Joan. Couples who lived with each other and put up with each other for 50 and 60 years. That, dear friends, is love. All this is by way of introduction to the Mallards, Ted and Myra, married 25 years. And as far as we know, there's never been an argument or even a harsh word. It's all been one long, beautiful honeymoon, as far as we know. Let our story begin late one autumn evening as the doorbell rings in their comfortable, well-appointed apartment.
Just a minute. You'll have to wait, Ted. Next time, carry your keys. Oh, Bert.
Did I wake you, Myra?
No, I never can sleep while Ted's awake. Come on in.
Thanks.
Ted isn't home yet. I guess his plane was late.
Why, yes, it was.
Oh, I knew it.
But...
But what?
Well,
Well? Something's wrong.
Well...
Bert, what are you trying to tell me?
Well, whatever it is, I guess I'm not doing a very good job of it.
It's Ted.
Yes, it's about Ted.
Something's happened to him. The plane.
Oh, now, Myra, just a minute.
I've been listening to the radio all night. I haven't heard anything about a plane.
No, it isn't the plane.
Then what is it?
The plane landed more than 3 hours ago.
Bert, tell me what's happened to Ted.
Well, I'm trying to. It's not easy.
You know where he is?
He's in jail.
Jail? Why? What for?
Well, I said it's not easy. I'm not sure. He was arrested as he came through customs.
Tell me why.
Well, I suppose for smuggling.
Smuggling? Oh, that's impossible. It has to be a mistake.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
We have to get hold of Arthur Clemens.
I already did.
Or doesn't he practice that kind of law?
He'll get someone else if he can't handle it.
Handle what?
Well, all I know is Ted called me, and they allowed them one phone call.
Please, Bert, get to it.
Well, he said, Bert, I'm being accused of smuggling. Call Arthur and then tell Myra.
But what is he accused of smuggling?
Heroin or cocaine. I'm not sure.
But that's ridiculous. How could Ted possibly be involved in anything like that?
They found it in his attaché case.
But it's all a mistake. A terrible mistake. Or else it's a joke. A very bad joke. Ted, oh,
Myra,
darling.
Myra, I didn't want you to come here.
Why not?
Because it's a prison cell.
Are you all right?
I don't know. I'm in prison, Myra.
Well, it's not exactly prison. You're just being held here because of some awful misunderstanding.
Oh, darling, it's prison. People like me, like us, we only read about these things.
But Arthur says he'll go before a judge in the morning and see about setting bail.
That's another word. Bail. Do you realize I'm going to be out on bail as if I were some common criminal?
Darling, Ted, tell me what happened. I simply couldn't get a word out of Bert.
What happened? How many times have I done this? I got off the plane, picked up my luggage, walked through customs, except this time I didn't walk through. This time, when they searched my attaché case, they found a packet, they say, of first-grade cocaine.
Well, then it couldn't have been your attaché case.
But it was.
Wow. How did the cocaine get there?
I don't know.
Couldn't you have seen it?
No.
Why not?
Because it was concealed in a secret compartment.
What secret
I don't know, darling. I didn't know I had one.
But surely...
Surely what?
Surely nothing, darling. I know how upset you are. You don't need me giving you a third degree.
They were waiting for me, Myra.
Waiting?
Yes. Ordinarily, customs is just routine. This time there were 3 or 4 of them out there. They emptied the papers out of my case. One of them had some kind of a screwdriver, and he...
You mean that they actually expected to find something?
Yes. And then there was this cellophane, or I think they call it glassine, a packet just filled with powder.
Well, it's a mistake.
Well, of course.
Obviously, it couldn't have been your attaché case. You see, that's the answer.
Myra, I told you it was.
Ted, you're being framed.
That's the only thing that makes any sense.
But why?
Because I travel regularly between New York and London on legitimate business. I'd make an ideal courier.
Somebody's been using you. People, a gang that's involved in smuggling, that they watch for regular travelers. I know it sounds crazy, but they managed to get hold of your bag somehow.
I don't know what's going to happen now, Myra.
Well, I know what's going to happen. Tomorrow, the mistake or whatever it is will be straightened out.
I don't know if it ever can be straightened out completely.
Ted, what are you saying? You're innocent.
Am I innocent? You know it, and I know it, but what about the rest of the world? Don't forget this will be in all the papers.
But it's so obviously a frame-up.
To whom? Myra, there are people who actually believe that if a person isn't guilty, he'd never have been arrested in the first place.
Ted, that's crazy.
Of course it is, but that's what's out there.
But everyone knows that you're an honest, hard-working, ethical
man. In the
man.
minds of so many people, there will be a nagging little nasty suspicion. Could he really have been involved?
Well, this is going to be a good way of finding out who your friends really are.
Suddenly I feel as if I'm part of another world, Myra, a world you and I never knew. It's no longer our logical, well-ordered universe. All of a sudden, I'm a criminal.
Darling, you're not.
I'm in a cage, deprived of my freedom. Look at them, the rest of them, as you leave here. The thugs, the hoodlums, the thieves. I'm one of them.
Ted.
Look at them as you leave, because I can't leave. I have to stay.
Darling, not for long.
Myra, you've got to get me out. The shame of this. The disgrace. I can't stand it.
Hello?
Myra.
Bert, where are you?
Courthouse.
Was Arthur able to get bail set?
Well, that's what I'm calling you.
Bert, please, just tell me.
There's a problem, Myra, and Arthur's going to be tied up with it, so he asked me to call you.
Bert, will you please tell me?
Well, it looks like Arthur can't get bail.
What do you mean he can't get bail.
Well,
It's the law. A person is entitled to bail.
he is and he isn't.
Well, I'm going right down there.
Myra, it won't do you any good. You see, because of the size of the package and the fact that they've had their eye on Ted for a long
Now,
time.
you just stop there. You stop right there.
Please, Myra, I'm only reporting the facts. The federal prosecutor moved for suspension of bail.
But that's not legal.
Oh, in some cases,
Well, there has to be someone I can talk to.
they claim Ted is so important to this narcotics ring
What narcotics ring?
that he would simply jump bail and leave the country.
Bert, do you know what you're saying?
Or else his life would be in danger. So what this amounts to is protective custody.
Huh. And Arthur, our fine attorney Arthur, to whom we pay a fortune every year as a retainer, is just standing there and taking it.
Now, Myra, you must be fair to Arthur.
Be fair to Arthur.
Arthur's fighting it. He's filing an appeal. He's going to a higher court, but it has to take time.
Time?
Well, a couple of days, a week.
Bert, I have to hang up now.
Now, you just relax, Myra. Everyone's doing their absolute best. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, goodbye. All right. Yes?
Mrs. Mallard?
Who are you?
I'm Lieutenant Jack Denson of the Narcotics Squad. We're cooperating with the federal authorities.
And?
Here are my credentials.
I see them.
May I come in?
Why?
To discuss your husband's case.
My husband doesn't have a case. He's a victim of a frame-up, of some sort of ghastly mistake. There's nothing you can gain from talking to me.
I'm here to help you, Mrs. Mallard. Help you and your husband.
Help us in what way?
Well, I'd rather not discuss that in the hallway of your apartment building.
Very well, come in. The only way you can help us is to clear up this terrible mistake and get Ted out of that jail.
What makes you think it's a mistake?
What makes me... My husband is innocent.
What makes you think so?
I'm going to have to ask you to leave this house.
First, answer my question. What makes you think your husband is innocent? The fact that you love him?
Of course I love him. Has that become a crime?
Your entire attitude toward your husband is based on the fact that you love him. And love happens to be blind.
Please, spare me your dime store philosophy. You don't live with a man for 25 years without getting to know him. Ours was no ordinary marriage, or maybe it was. Maybe all marriages are the same. I wouldn't know. But we were together in everything. We had no secrets. I don't believe we even had separate thoughts. We lived with and for each other. So he couldn't have been doing anything wrong, because I would have known it.
How would you have known it?
Evidently, you're not married. Or if you are, it's not what I would call a marriage. I would know. He wouldn't have to say a word or leave a clue. But I would know if he were doing anything wrong. So what do you say to that?
I wish I knew what to say, Mrs. Mallard. I wish I knew how to say what I have to say.
Then please, stop beating around the bush.
You're a fine woman, Mrs. Mallard.
I'm in no mood for flattery, Lieutenant. Say what you have to say and get out.
I'm sorry I'm forced to tell you this, but your husband, whom you love, and with whom you're so close, has been leading a double life.
I don't believe that. It can't be true.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Mallard. We have proof.
There are parts of the world where it never rains. The bright golden sun shines in a deep blue sky, and all is beautiful and cheerful and gay. And after a while, you accept it as something that will last forever. But as the song says, into each life some rain must fall. And when it does, those who have never known what it is to be drenched usually suffer the most. I shall return shortly with Act 2. 25 years, Myra and Ted Mallard have had a wonderful marriage. Myra and Ted could communicate without speaking, read each other's thoughts, share each other's feelings. Well, possibly this hasn't been completely so. For here is Myra being confronted with the charge that Ted has been living a complete life away from her. A life that is of interest to the police.
I challenge you to present your proof, Lieutenant.
We've been watching Ted for a long time. He makes regular trips.
He makes regular trips to London on legitimate business.
Of course.
Ted had an opportunity to open a branch office in London. And he goes there to supervise.
And it's an excellent cover.
Cover? His presence is necessary.
According to the annual report of your husband's company, that London operation is losing money.
Ted has faith in it.
But you can excuse our being skeptical.
And what right do you have to arrest a man on skepticism?
None at all. But it goes deeper.
I'm not interested. I can see the nature of your so-called proof.
I want you to help your husband.
Why should you care?
By helping him, you help us. Mrs. Mallard, he won't talk.
What does he have to talk about?
Everything. Who his associates are, where they buy the drugs, where and to whom they sell, who is protecting them.
But...
Please, let me finish. You must convince him to talk. If he remains silent, he'll spend the rest of his life in jail.
But he hasn't done anything.
Please, Mrs. Mallard, we're beyond all that. Now, you must convince him to cooperate. That way he can get a substantial reduction in his sentence.
What sentence?
He'll be tried and he'll be sentenced. We have proof.
You keep saying you have proof. And all you've got is the packet you found in his attaché case, and that could have been planted there.
It could have been, but it wasn't.
Well, I won't be intimidated. If we have to fight, we'll fight. Ted is 47 years old. He has a spotless reputation. He's never done anything wrong. The jury will simply refuse to believe that he could be a member of a dope ring.
Did you ever hear of a woman named Jenny Saunders?
Jenny Saunders? I don't believe so.
I'll do some things that are not exactly in the book. If you promise to say nothing, I'll take you to her apartment.
Well, why would I want to go there?
Because the two of you have something in common.
How does it happen that you have a key to this woman's apartment?
Well, you see, she's cooperating with us. And when I said I might want to bring you here, she felt it best not to be present.
Why?
Out of respect, I suppose, for your feelings. What do you think of the place?
Well, it's nice enough, but why do you... Wait a minute. That's Ted's picture.
Yep, that's Ted's picture.
What's Ted's picture doing here?
You'll find some of Ted's clothing in the closet also.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, what?
You won't get away with this. I see what this is for. It's a frame-up to build your case. You're planting his things in this apartment.
You're making serious charges, Mrs. Mallard, and I can understand how you feel, but Ted was here. He spent time here.
I defy you to prove that.
We have witnesses. People have seen him here.
Well, they can. They can all be part of this plot.
Which plot? Mrs. Mallard, why should we want to frame your husband?
I don't know. To make an arrest, to create an impression you're cracking down on drugs?
Why pick on Ted Mallard? Why construct this elaborate framework?
I won't believe it.
That means you refuse to believe it. Mrs. Mallard, let's accept your argument for a moment. The drugs could have been planted in the attaché case.
Then you admit...
For the sake of argument. Okay. Then we could have gone to the trouble of setting up the apartment, to witness the girl. But you tell me one thing. How do you explain your husband's fingerprints?
What fingerprints?
His fingerprints are all over the place. I know it's very hard for you, Mrs. Mallard. I suppose you have to look at your whole life now from another perspective. And maybe, faced with all this, you won't even want to help him.
Please. Let me out of here.
Myra, where were you? I thought you'd be here earlier. Arthur hasn't been able to do a thing. Now, should we get another lawyer? I can't believe a thing like this could happen.
Tell me about Jenny Saunders.
Who?
Jenny Saunders.
What about Jenny Saunders?
That's what I'm asking you.
I don't know any Jenny Saunders.
You don't?
No, of course not. Look, darling, we've got 1,000,001 important things to worry about.
You don't know a Jenny Saunders.
Myra, is somebody named Jenny Saunders somehow involved in everything that's happening?
There's an apartment at 291 Fenimore Place.
So, what about it?
I was hoping you'd tell me what about it.
Myra, what's wrong? Don't say nothing, because I can tell when something's bothering you.
I didn't say nothing was wrong. Tell me about 291 Fenimore Place.
I never heard of it.
The police say they found your fingerprints all over it.
Oh, well, I guess they would.
Then you do know about 291 Fenimore.
Thinking, darling, I have been there. Let me see.
Often?
Well, twice to install and then... Oh, let's see, was it 3 times? Anyway, I installed and then went back for some repairs, I guess. And I guess the police were checking every place that I ever visited.
Well, why would you have been to 291 Fenimore?
As a favor to Bert.
Bert?
Yes, he's got a friend.
Jenny Saunders?
Maybe that's her name. I never saw her. I never saw anyone in the apartment.
Well, why did you go there in the first place?
I'm telling you, darling, Bert asked me to install one of our special stereos for this good friend of his.
You? Don't you have servicemen and technicians to do that kind of thing?
There were some new things, and Bert said that it would be a big favor.
And that's the only reason you ever went to 291 Fenimore Place?
Well, of course. What other reason would I have?
Oh, hello, Mrs. Mallard.
Hello, Harriet. Is Bert Hollis in?
Well, yeah, he sure is, but he's on the phone.
That's all right. I'll wait.
Look, I don't believe it about Mr. Mallard. I mean, well, he's just about the straightest guy there is.
Harriet, tell me something. Does the name Jenny Saunders mean anything to you?
Say it again, Mrs. Mallard.
Jenny Saunders. Does it mean anything?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I don't know. I mean, oh, gosh.
Well, who is it?
Look, does this ever happen to you? You know you've heard something somewhere, but you can't for the life of you remember when or where. Now this name, Jenny Saunders.
Yes?
I did hear it.
Apropos of what?
Apropos of, I can't remember.
Oh, please, Harriet, try to recall.
No. It doesn't do me any good to try.
It's very important.
But, I mean, it's all just sloshing around somewhere in my subconscious, and it'll come to the surface when it wants to.
Well, you will let me know, won't you, if you should happen to remember?
Oh, sure. Oh, Mr. Hollis's light is out now, so he's off the phone. Why don't you just go in?
Thank you. Bert.
Myra, come in. Come in. Sit down.
Thank you.
Is there something new? I know Arthur's still waiting for the Court of Appeal.
Bert, who is Jenny Saunders?
Well, I never heard of her.
Now, look, I know how long you and Ted have been friends. And, of course, your instinct is to protect him, but Bert... Oh, Bert, I have to know.
What do you have to know?
If my husband has been having an affair with a woman named Jenny Saunders.
Ted? An affair? Oh, no, never. It's impossible.
Bert, I looked in the mirror today, and I see that it could be possible.
Myra, I know Ted,
Please
and I
listen
say
to
never.
Me. Please. When I think of Ted and me and our marriage, I believe I'm still 20 and he's still 22. But I'm not, and he's not, and I have wrinkles, and a girl named Jenny Saunders is probably quite young.
And you're being quite silly. Ted would never...
Are you familiar with an apartment at 291 Fenimore Place?
291 Fenimore... No. Should I be?
Yes, if you have a friend who lives there.
No, I don't know anyone who...
Well, Since you have never heard of the place, and you don't know anyone who lives there, then you couldn't possibly have asked Ted to personally install a special super stereo.
Ask Ted to what?
You heard what I said.
Well, I heard it, but I can't believe it. Well, why would I ask Ted?
I see.
Myra, please. Why did you ask me such a question? What are you driving at? What's happened?
I'm not sure. When Ted was arrested at the airport the other night, I thought that was the end of the world. Now I see that may have just been the calm before the storm.
Yes?
You're Jenny Saunders.
Okay. Where do we go from here?
I'm Myra Mallard.
Oh, well, come on in. Sit down.
Thank you.
Drink?
I don't believe so.
Well, what are we going to talk about?
Is it true?
It's true.
I didn't think you'd be his type.
When they start to hit 50, what's a type?
Although you are quite pretty.
If it makes you feel any better, he's still in love with you.
Really? Then what was he doing here?
Well, I guess these fellows need excitement. He's in a jam, I hear.
Yes.
I will say he was fast with $1. He was good to me. The rent here goes for almost $300. And then he liked to go to the track.
I never knew he had the slightest interest
Oh, and he liked a game of cards. I told him the stakes were a little high.
I never knew he could even play cards.
Well, I tried to steer him clear of it.
Thank you.
But men, they do what they want to do. And so, the way I see it, he got in very deep to the loan sharks. And it's all tied into the rackets, you understand? So they said, look, here's how you can pay us back.
And so he became a courier.
You see it happen all the time. Legit business guys get themselves in hock and the mob moves in. What are you looking for?
You wouldn't happen to have a specially installed stereo, would you?
Oh, no. I wish I did.
Well, thank you, Miss Saunders.
Yeah. I'm glad you're friendly, Mrs. Mallard. A lot of wives, they'd throw a fit. But isn't it better to act civilized?
Myra, what are you saying to me?
What are you saying to me, Ted?
I'm saying that I don't know a girl named Jenny Saunders.
She lives at 291 Fenimore Place. You admit you went there.
As a favor to Bert.
Bert knows nothing about it.
What do you mean he knows nothing about it? He asked me to.
Didn't.
He specifically asked. Myra, Bert came into my office a couple of months ago and asked me to do him this favor.
But he didn't.
Well, ask him.
I did ask him. He knows nothing about it. And furthermore, I just had a visit with Jenny Saunders.
Myra.
I can see where she might be very exciting.
Myra, listen to me.
No, you listen to me. Call Lieutenant Benson.
What for?
So you can make a deal and be out of here in a few years, or maybe even months.
Would you mind telling me what you're talking
I'm
about?
talking about a man who fell in love with a woman half his age.
Myra.
All right. Let's say he became infatuated. And so he went through all of his money, got into debt, and was offered a way out, an illegal way out, and he was caught.
Myra, do you believe this?
Yes, Ted, I believe it. I don't see how it's possible not to believe it.
How is it possible, indeed, not to believe it? How can one doubt the evidence? Evidence based on the reasonable, logical, and sensible interpretation of the facts that exist. Certainly, a man must be proven guilty beyond the shadow of a doubt. Is there even a shadow here? Everything seems so clear-cut. I'll be back shortly with Act 3. Sometimes, if you repeat a story often enough, you'll come to believe it. For instance, for 25 years, Myra Mallard has been telling herself that she has the perfect marriage, a union that was made in heaven, as they say. And perhaps she has been so taken by the idea that she refuses to accept reality. And reality seems to be another woman, and a prison cell, and a narcotics carrying charge.
You're telling me I've been having an affair with another woman?
I have met her.
And I've been maintaining her?
Yes.
And the drain on my finances has driven me into becoming a member of a narcotics ring?
Ted, these are facts.
Well, I deny every one of them.
But your fingerprints are all over that apartment.
And I told you how they got there.
Oh, Ted.
I also told you something else. I told you this would never be straightened out.
But
that the very fact I've been arrested would scar me for the rest of my life.
Ted,
that there'll always be a nagging doubt in people's minds. Well, what can I expect from strangers when my own wife believes I'm guilty?
Oh, Ted, I don't know what to believe.
I'd know what to believe if you were the one who was sitting in jail. I'd believe what you told me.
I'm trying to, but all the evidence...
I wouldn't care for evidence. I'd know that the person I loved would tell me the truth. I don't think we have the kind of marriage that we thought we did. Or at least that I thought I did.
Ted, what do you want me to do?
What do I want you to do if you have to ask?
I'm all mixed up.
We had a paradise, you and I, Mara. But at the first storm, look what happens to it.
Darling...
The other night you said to me this would be a good way to find out who my friends are. Well, it's better than that. It's a good way for me to find out who my wife is.
Well, Mrs. Mallard, have you thought it over?
Yes, Lieutenant Denson, I have.
And have you decided to help your husband?
Yes. I'm going to do everything I can.
Fine. Then I can expect you to cooperate with us.
Oh, I will. That is, if you agree to cooperate with me.
Certainly. What would you like me to do?
Find the man who's really guilty.
Mrs. Mallard, is it possible we are back to ground zero on this thing?
We never left it. Ted is innocent.
In the face of all the evidence, can you really believe that?
Yes, I believe he is innocent. And I believe it because he says so. Ted Mallard cannot lie to me any more than I can lie to him.
Mrs. Mallard, I would like you...
I know what you'd like. You'd like me to look at the facts. But there are all kinds of facts, Lieutenant. You have yours and I have mine.
And what are yours?
Mine is the fact that Ted and I are in love. Yes, for a moment I panicked. I was frightened.
Mrs. Mallard...
It's no good, Lieutenant. I have 25 years supporting me.
I know this is a blow to your pride.
Let me tell you whom you should investigate. My husband's partner, Bert Hollis.
Please, Mrs.
Bert
Mallard...
is lying. He said he didn't ask Ted to install the stereo set at 291 Fenimore.
Mrs. Mallard, you can't shift the blame conveniently.
Why is Bert lying? That's the crux of the entire case.
Bert was not caught with the narcotics. Bert was not maintaining a girl in that apartment.
Please, Lieutenant, don't give me facts. Your facts. For once, try something else.
Something else?
Faith. Believe somebody. Take a person's word. You once said, I was a very fine woman. All right. Would I lie? Isn't it possible that I'm telling the truth? I know you have a case. It's well constructed. But it's wrong.
Mrs. Mallard, we know Ted is guilty.
And I know Bert is lying, and I'm asking you to find out why.
We have no reason to pursue that line of investigation.
Perhaps you don't, but I do. And I'm going to pursue it.
How?
I don't know. What do I know about these kinds of things? But somebody has to help Ted.
Must be wonderful to have a wife who simply won't face the facts.
Oh, you're wrong, Lieutenant. I'm facing all the facts. Why would Bert lie?
I don't know.
think?
I told you I don't know.
Have you had any differences of opinion about the business?
No.
Is he in debt?
Not that I know of.
Can you think of anything, any reason why he would do this to you?
Bert and I have been friends since college.
All right, the attaché case. How could the cocaine have gotten in there?
That's beyond me.
Oh, Ted, you're not being very helpful.
Well, did I ever think I'd be framed?
It's Bert. It has to be Bert. But why?
I don't know. I'd have been willing to bet my life on Bert. Just as I'd be willing to bet my life on you.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Mallard.
Hello, Harriet.
Anything new with Mr. Mallard?
Well, we're hoping.
Yeah.
I've just come by to get some of Ted's things.
Oh, that's Mr. Hollis's ring. He wants to give me some dictation. Look, if you'll be in Mr. Mallard's office for a few minutes, would you mind answering the phone?
No, not at all.
It's just that when Mr. Hollis dictates, he gets all confused if I have to stop and pick up the phone.
Well, I'll be here for a while.
Oh, thanks.
Yes?
Is Bert there?
No.
Well, he's supposed to be there. He knows I'll be calling.
He just stepped out for a moment.
Tell him Smitty wants him.
Oh, yes.
What do you mean? Oh, yes.
Well, I've heard Bert mention your name. Bert and I are, we're very close.
There you are. What about the Saunders dame?
Oh, that's all over.
Look, it's a lot of dough. And it's due. He knows how and where to bring it.
Myra! Harriet said you were here.
Oh, well, I just wanted to get some of Ted's things.
Why? He'll be out of jail soon. I feel it in my bones.
Do you?
I know Ted. He couldn't do anything wrong.
You're a good friend to him.
I don't care what anyone says. I'll stick by him.
Oh, thanks for covering the phone. I heard it ring.
Oh, it was a wrong number.
Oh, well, I hope everything will be okay with Mr. Mallard.
Thank you, Harriet.
If you're through in Mr. Mallard's office, maybe I better lock it.
Well, why? Does Mr. Mallard usually keep it locked?
Oh, no. That's his problem. He leaves everything lying around. Anybody could walk into his office and walk off with anything.
Even his attaché case?
Oh, sure. Although, why would anyone want to take his attaché case?
Well, did you ever see anyone carrying his case?
Did I? Well, I never thought to watch.
Try to think.
Hey, now that you mention it, it's funny. Now, when he left for London last week, I saw Mr. Hollis bring him the case. Mr. Hollis said, "Hey, Ted, you left this in my office."
Uh-huh. That's what Mr. Hollis said.
Mm-hmm.
What did Mr. Mallard answer?
I think he said, thanks, Bert.
And that was all?
Yeah. Oh, do you remember you asked me, did I know a Jenny Saunders?
Yes.
So that's where I heard her name. As they were saying goodbye, Mr. Hollis said, let me see, did you get everything squared away for my friend Jenny Saunders? And Mr. Mallard answered, the stereo works just fine. There you are. You really forget nothing if you know how to make it come back.
Hello, Bud. I'm on time. You got it?
Yeah.
Hand it over. I know 50 grand here.
I know.
Look, the agreement was 10 payments, 50 grand each.
50 is too big a sum to hide.
Agreement, pal.
I can fix the books for 25 maybe each month, but not for 50.
Who cares about the books? That's why we got Mallard out of the way, so you could have an open road.
His wife was there today.
Why?
I don't know why. Maybe she suspects something.
Why should she suspect
I don't know. I said maybe.
Look, you're the one who said all you needed was to get Mallard out of here, and the till would be wide open.
Okay, but you have to be cautious.
Cautious? The way you drop money on the ponies, the cards, the dames?
Look, it'll just take a little bit longer, but I'll pay you fellas back.
What's that?
I don't know.
Nobody's supposed to be here.
Well, maybe it's Jenny.
How could it be Jenny? I heard you two are quits.
Quits? Where did you hear that?
Your secretary told me.
She doesn't know anything about Jenny.
Wait a minute.
Hey, what are you going to do with that gun?
Somebody's in that closet. What are you trying to do, Bert? Set me up?
No, I don't.
All right, whoever you are, come on out of there.
Myra.
You know this dame?
It's Ted's wife.
Hello, Bert. Who's your friend?
Myra, I couldn't help myself.
So you did frame Ted after all.
Please, Myra, you don't understand. It was Jenny. Jenny Saunders. I couldn't keep away from her.
All right, we can't hang around here.
What are you going to do with her?
I don't know. But something will occur to me. Move, sister.
Why?
What are you going to do to her?
She has to disappear.
You let her alone. Murder was no part of the deal.
Look, Bert, people do what they have to do.
I said no. Please, Myra. Myra, if you promise not to...
What can she promise?
Myra, promise you
Ah, poor Bert. This character makes you betray your friend, loot your company, and now he'll kill you.
Shut up, lady.
Well, how else can it end?
I think we'd better go for a little ride.
No, I won't let you do it.
My arm,
No,
you
you
nut.
put away your
I said let go,
You okay, Mr. Hollis?
Me? Yes. Yes, I am.
Lieutenant.
Harry, Joe, get an ambulance. You may be able to save this other one's life.
Lieutenant.
What am I doing here?
Yes.
Well, you can say whatever you like about science and facts and clues and evidence, but sometimes a good hunch has them all beat.
You heard what they said?
Yep, everything. I followed you because if you did happen to be right, you'd need help.
I didn't mean to. I just kept getting in deeper and deeper.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
No, thank you for showing me what it can be like.
What can be like?
Marriage. I may even try it myself.
And he did. Or so we are told. Well, what is the moral here? You may be sure that faith can overcome any difficulty. And as the Persian poet said, the sweet breath of love can blow away the mightiest mountains. So, you have faith, for I shall return in just a few moments. Love, like wine, they say, grows mellower, finer, tastier as time goes on. Just as youth is wasted on the young, so is love. The heart has its reasons, and the more we attempt to probe and pry and weigh and analyze, the more we come to naught. Love is one of the two supreme passions. The other, of course, is murder, which is why we always try to give you liberal amounts of each, 7 times each week. Our cast included Joan Lovejoy, Mandel Kramer, Bryna Rayburn, Ken Harvey, and Sam Gray. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown.
This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
It's the sound of bright and beautiful music. This is KIXI, Seattle.
CBS News. The U.S. Senate is working this weekend. Friday night, it approved a measure on unemployment tied to a tax credit bill. This is Doug Poling reporting on the CBS Radio Network. Details on the Senate action from Mariah McLaughlin in Washington.
The Senate has passed a bill which would extend unemployment benefits for an additional 13 weeks. Attached to the measure is an amendment which would affect the tax credit on new home purchases. That original measure, passed by the House and Senate, said that the credit would apply only to homes on which construction had started by March 26th. The new measure changes that date to June 19th, thus allowing a larger number of new home purchasers to benefit from the tax credit. The measure must now go to a conference with the already House-passed unemployment compensation bill, which contains no references to the tax credit for new home purchasers. The vote came after the Senate interrupted its seemingly unending debate on the New Hampshire election controversy. But the Senate will take that matter up again in an unusual Saturday session. Mariah McLaughlin, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The House passed and sent to President Ford a bill to continue financing about 310,000 public service jobs. It's a $1.6 billion measure. Without the approval of the funds, the jobs will expire June 30th. House Democrats announced Friday a major effort will be made to override President Ford's veto of a housing bill. Speaker Carl Albert concedes it will be a hard fight. The bill includes incentive payments to home buyers, interest-producing federal subsidies, and protection against foreclosure. More news in a moment.
If you ever use a hemorrhoid preparation, you should know this. Vaseline Brands has news. It's Hemorrhoid ointment. Hemorrhoid works fast, helps protect with a proven medical ingredient for soothing occlusion. And Hemorrhoid gives you only this key ingredient, so it gives you more than the leading preparation. Now, at your first sign of pain, burning, and itching, turn to soothing Hemorrhoid. Hemorrhoid from Vaseline Brands. Use only as directed.
Hi, everybody. Phil Rizzuto here with a few words for sport fans everywhere. Nightly, Monday through Friday, I bring you Phil Rizzuto on sports over most of these stations. I wrap up the daily events with an action review that includes interviews with players, coaches, and managers, and always give you a preview of what's to come. I also have comments on all phases of the sports world that I know will interest you. Hope you'll listen right here Monday through Friday nights for Phil Rizzuto on sports on most of these CBS Radio Network stations.
President Ford's official organization to go after the Republican presidential nomination is getting underway. Papers were filed Friday for authorization for campaign fundraising and spending. Dean Birch, serving as temporary chairman of the President Ford Committee, says he does not think his man will have much trouble getting the nomination.
There are other potential candidates. I'm sure you're all aware of them. Governor Reagan has expressed some interest in becoming a candidate. At this time, I would assume he is the most logical or perhaps credible candidate in the Republican Party, with the exception of the president. I'm inclined to think that the president's strength these past few weeks, and as it will develop in the next weeks, politically as well as from a general public point of view, would at least lead any challenger to reconsider.
Birch also said he does not anticipate too much trouble raising campaign funds for the president. Speculation about the murder of reputed Chicago underworld kingpin Sam Giancano is running rampant. The 65-year-old Giancano was shot several times in the head in his Oak Park, Illinois home. Some police sources say they doubt it was a mob rub-out. Others say it might have been, claiming Giancano had fallen into disfavor in underworld circles. There are reports he might have been killed to keep him from talking to a grand jury. The CIA has been mentioned because of an alleged plot involving the spy agency and Giancano to kill Cuba's Fidel Castro. Senator Frank Church, who heads the Senate committee which is probing the Central Intelligence Agency, says protection of committee witnesses may be necessary. Now this.
Way back in 1876, it was brewed and aged to deliver a taste, a smoothness, and a drinkability found in no other beer at any price. I'm talking about Budweiser, and nothing's changed. Bud is still brewed with pride to be the king of beers, and every Beechwood-aged taste of Budweiser says so loud and clear. Hear it talking?
Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
Isn't my car ready yet?
Look, lady, there's a tune-up and 2 flat tires ahead of you.
But my mother's plane is landing in an hour.
Tomorrow morning's the best we can do.
Tomorrow morning? What's my mother going to do?
Simple nervous tension. Simple nervous tension. Now turn it down with Quiet World tablets. The calmative with pain relievers and 2 gentle relaxants for hours of relief. Take only as directed. Quiet World tablets ease the aches and that tense feeling to help turn down occasional simple nervous tension.
An American girl and her Italian boyfriend spent 5 days in jail near Rome after they wandered onto a top-secret NATO base. 21-year-old Patricia Circle of Springfield, Massachusetts, and her boyfriend had walked into a woods in the hills south of Rome looking for seclusion. They set off an alarm system that brought barking dogs, police, and secret agents. The couple was jailed for 5 days. They appeared Friday before a Rome magistrate who decided they had no intention of spying on the NATO base. This is Doug Poling, CBS News.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Every age must have its heroes. You may well ask, what is a hero? Obviously, a hero must be one who performs heroic deeds. In the past, we had great patriots, great soldiers, great statesmen, and great scientists. Active men and women who changed the face of our nation and the course of our history. Is it a commentary on our times that today's heroes are only images on a screen? Our mystery drama, The Shadow of a Killer, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Fred Gwynne. The nondescript-looking sedan comes to a stop before a seedy, sagging tenement building in a desolate section of a dreary slum. 3 men get out. One is tall and rugged, with what might be described as craggy features. Quietly, they enter the dismal hallway. Each has a revolver in his hand. They stop before a door. The tall, rugged one raises his foot. With one crashing blow, he kicks the door open.
Police! Freeze!
Hey, what's the idea?
Against the wall! Eddie, Jerry, frisk these animals. Well, hey, look at here. On the table. All these bills. They wouldn't be from the bank job where you killed the guard and 2 customers, would they?
I don't know how that dough got there.
You don't know how that dough got there, do you?
Look, we'll make a deal. All this dough, you keep it.
It's not enough.
It's $250 grand.
There's not enough money in the whole world.
Cut! And print it. That was perfect, Mace. It's a take. Okay, Maxie, you can get up off the floor.
Harry, look! Maxie! His mouth's bleeding.
Hey, what is this? He's hurt. Mace, what'd you do to him?
I don't know.
You must have really hit him. I thought it looked too lifelike.
Hey, Max, I'm sorry.
Somebody go get some water.
Yeah.
Get a doctor. Say, Max, listen, I'm sorry.
What got into you? We're only making a movie.
Max.
Yeah? What?
Oh, good, he's coming around.
Oh, what happened?
You're gonna be all right, Max. You're gonna be all right.
Hi, Mace.
Listen, Perry, maybe you better not call me Mace anymore. This never happened to me before. I never lost control in the scene. How's Max?
He's okay. It'll be in the papers.
Why?
There was a reporter on the set from the Trib, a dame. You should have seen her eyes light up. I can see tomorrow's headlines. The violence is not phony in the TV series Captain Mace Hacker Homicide.
Boy, that's all I need.
That's worth $1 million in publicity.
You know what I'd like to do? Walk away from the show.
What, now? You're the hottest series in Hollywood.
Perry, I'm scared.
Of what?
That's just it. I don't know.
Maybe you ought to see a shrink.
Perry, what do you think of me?
Well, I always thought you were a good actor, but now I believe you're great. You get better every week.
Yeah, but maybe. But I want the truth.
When they first called me in to direct the series, it was just another cop story. No better, no worse. But may the good Lord forgive me, we have now become a work of art.
Look, Perry, tonight I'm in no mood for soft soap.
You've developed something with the show, Mace. You've brought it to a new height of realism.
I'll tell you what, I'd like to go back to Broadway and do a play.
In the first place, they'd never let you out of your contract. Second, you're doing some absolutely first-rate acting right now.
That's the problem, Perry. I'm no longer sure it is acting.
What does that mean?
I wish I knew what it meant.
It's got to mean something.
Yeah. Perry, I've been trained as an actor. And I know that what we create is an illusion.
Well, sure.
But what if what we create is real?
Real? How? In what way?
Don't try to nail me down. It's just the character. I don't know. When I walk off the set, sometimes I get the feeling that I'm not walking away from it.
You're too intense.
That's no help.
Perry, you're a stage actor, a fine one. You've played the classics, Shakespeare, Ibsen, Chekhov. You come out here to do a TV series. You're accused of selling out, of frittering away your talents. So you say to yourself, I'll show these jokers what acting really is. I'll prove that performing as Mace Hacker can be as great as performing Hamlet.
That's what you think, huh?
And you've proved your point. Now you can relax.
Hey, who are you? And, how did you get in here?
My name is Irene Fluitt. I was on one of the studio tours. We watched you filming your show, and the guide pointed this out as your dressing room. So I sneaked away from the rest of them and came back here. The door was open.
Yeah, and so here you are.
Oh, please don't have me thrown out.
I never have anybody thrown out. I'll say to you what I say to the rest of them. If you want a picture with my autograph, I'm glad to oblige. And now, let me open the door for you.
Oh, but please...
Look, let me explain something. We have a fantastic security system here. Special cops who know exactly how to handle this type of situation. So, if you think you might be able to work this into a big deal, you'll never get it off the ground.
I don't want your money. I don't want your autograph. And I don't want you to make love to me.
So what's left?
I want you to listen.
Look, I really don't have any time.
I want you to find my husband.
Find your husband?
He's disappeared.
Well, why don't you go to the police?
You're the police.
What?
You're Captain Mace Hacker.
No. I'm Alvin J. Miller.
Please, Captain Hacker.
Look, Mace Hacker is a character dreamed up by a writer. And I'm just an actor who plays the part.
Don't say that.
Mace Hacker is a fictional character.
No, he is not a fictional character. Mace Hacker is the best detective in the world.
There is no Mace Hacker.
I see him every week. I believe in him. And now finally I'm talking to him.
How would it be if I got you a taxi?
No, please. Please don't dismiss me as if I were a nut. I know I sound like one, but I have seen you on television, and I feel your absolute dedication to law and order and justice.
Oh, those words. Listen, the writers put those words in my mouth.
But neither they nor anyone else can put that conviction in your voice. You are Mace Hacker, and you know it. You're the world's best cop, because you've had more experience, more training than any police officer in the world.
What are you talking about?
What cop has worked on as many crimes as you have? And you've solved them, because you used correct techniques.
Look, I really don't have any more time.
Oh, please. Please find my husband.
Look, Mrs.
Please.
Fluid, you have to understand
No.
that
No, don't turn me down. I have nowhere else to go. Please. Maybe they murdered him.
Maybe who murdered him?
I don't know. But he knew too much.
About what?
I don't know. But they had to get him out of the way.
Who had to get him out of the way?
They did.
Who are they?
My husband drives a truck. Last Wednesday night, he was very nervous. He couldn't eat his dinner. What's the matter? I asked him.
Please, Mrs.
No,
Fluid.
I won't leave here until you listen to me.
Look, I'll tell you what I'll do. Mrs. Fluid, let me drive you to your home, and you can tell me about it on the way.
This isn't a trick now. You're going to listen to me? You've got to promise.
I promise.
Turn right here, for Encero Beach. As I was telling you, he was very nervous. I guess you could say scared. I asked him what was the matter. At first he wouldn't say anything. And finally he said, Irene, I'm in a jam. Well, what does that mean, I asked. I better not tell you, he said. But I'm your wife, I said. And he said, I gotta keep you out of this. And then...
Yes?
Well, then he just got up from the table and he went out.
Where?
I don't know. I haven't seen him since. He didn't come home that night. So next morning, I went to the police station.
What did they do?
Oh, they listened. They wrote everything down. I gave them his picture, and that's it. Nothing's happening.
How do you know? They're probably doing the very best they can.
Well, I don't say they aren't. But their best isn't good enough. Look, all I know is my husband is gone.
Look, Mrs. Fluid, he's your husband. You may feel a special way about him, but the fact is, he was in wrong somewhere. Somehow. He said so himself. He told you he was in a jam.
But he wouldn't do anything wrong. I know. Oh, this is the house right here.
Hey, this is the house. Quite a place.
Well, ever since we were married, that's all both of us ever wanted. A nice place to live in. Oh, please, won't you come in?
I'd like to, but I'm due back for a story conference in about 40 minutes.
Please.
So,
find my husband.
What makes you think I can?
Because you're Captain Mace Hacker.
Oh, please, let's not start that all over
But
again.
you are. Whether you like it or not.
Mrs. Fluid, I'm sorry. I have to go.
You're afraid.
Of what?
Afraid you'll be unable to live up to your responsibility.
What responsibility?
Your responsibility to me.
What responsibility do I have to you?
To me and to the millions who watch you and who believe in you.
I never asked anyone to believe in me.
Oh, but you do. You speak to all of us and you say, I'm here to protect you. You can count on me. Now, you know you say that.
But those are just words. The writer's words.
But we believe you. I believe you.
There are pretenses which after a while become real. If not to the pretender, then to his audience. And why not? So many of us play a role in this life, and there are those of us who are actually paid fabulous sums to do it. They say sometimes you can't tell the real people from the pretenders without a scorecard. Maybe we'll have to issue some in Act 2.
which comes shortly. Be what you would like people to think you are. This is a piece of advice that comes to us from no less a philosopher than Pythagoras himself. And so there must be something to it. But like all these previous nuggets fashioned by the great sages, there's always considerable difficulty, not to mention distance, between the desire and the deed.
But I believe you. You are Captain Mace Hacker. I believe you.
I said I was sorry.
I'll never believe anybody again as long as I live.
Mrs. Fluid. Mrs. Fluid? Mrs. Fluid? Mrs. Fluid?
Yes.
You must let me apologize.
For what?
That's it. I don't even know for what. But I have this feeling I've done something wrong. May I come in? Say, this is a beautiful home you have here.
We're very proud of it. Look, you don't really have to apologize to me. I realize what I did was quite silly. It's just that I'm desperate, and I don't know where to turn. Oh, I would offer you a drink, except I know you never take one.
That's right. I'll tell you what you could offer me, though. Whatever it is I'm smelling. It must be delicious.
Oh, that's dinner. I just left it to simmer on the stove.
What is it?
Beef stew.
You see, ever since I became Mace Hacker, whenever I go out to eat, wherever I go, I'm recognized. I can never enjoy a meal.
Well, would you care for some?
Well, thank you. And, why don't you tell me more about your husband?
All right. I want to do the scene between Hacker and Inspector Kelly again. We have practically the same dialogue in every show. You should be able to do it in your sleep. So let's do it in one take. Roll 'em.
Mace Hacker, script 28, scene 27, take 2.
Action.
First, Mrs. Fluid, you tell me your husband drives a truck. Then I find out you live in this fantastic house in very exclusive Encero Beach.
Cut! Hey, where do those lines come from, Mace?
What?
Mace, what script are we doing?
I don't...
Who is Mrs. Fluid?
Mrs. Fluid?
Yeah, whose husband drives a truck. Mace, none of this is in the script.
Yeah, I realize that.
You okay?
Yeah, sure. I just must have been thinking about something.
You want to take a break?
No. It's okay. I'll be all right. Let's take it again. Hello, Mrs. Fluid?
Oh, good evening.
You mind if I come in?
No, not at all.
Mrs. Fluid, I want you to tell me the truth.
About what?
About your husband.
I told you everything.
You told me he drives a truck.
Yes, that's right.
Well, what other source of income does he have?
None that I know of.
I checked the records at City Hall. You bought this house for $170,000.
Yes, we did.
On a truck driver's salary?
Well, he makes very good money.
Not that good.
He told me he came into some inheritance. An aunt of his died.
Who was she?
I don't know. I never met her. Well, he never did either. She lived in England.
Who does your husband work for?
Kazmaier. W.J. Kazmaier.
What kind of outfit is it?
Oh, they import novelties, all sorts of little souvenir-type items from the Far East.
It's a warehouse, huh?
Yes, I think so.
I see. And he drives the stuff from there to various stores and so forth?
Well, I would imagine so.
It seems to me you don't know very much about it.
Well, he never talked much about his job.
And you never wondered about where all the money was coming from?
I was brought up in a family where a woman never asked her husband such questions.
Who have you been talking to downtown at police headquarters?
A certain Inspector Rockfield.
Rockfield, huh?
Do you know him?
Inspector Rockfield. Who? Oh, yeah, anytime. Send him right in here. Mace Hacker, come right on in and sit yourself down.
Thanks, Inspector.
Hey, before I forget, September 23rd's the date for the annual PBA affair. I know the men will want you for guest of honor as usual.
Sure.
Mace. Isn't it remarkable how I instinctively call you Mace? It's just because you happen to be so real to all of us in the department.
Inspector.
Hey, I guess you want my comments on the next script. Usually Perry calls me up about that. As usual, I've got nothing to say. Oh, a couple of little nitpicky things, but I don't even know if it pays to bring them up.
Inspector, could I ask you a question?
Yeah, shoot.
What's being done on the George Fluitt case?
The what?
The George Fluitt disappearance.
George Fluitt. That name doesn't ring a bell. Is it, something recent?
It's very recent, Inspector.
George Fluitt. Doesn't mean a thing.
Well, I've been talking to his wife. She says she's been in here to see you.
Well, we get hundreds of these things in day. I see. Fluitt. Let me think, Oh, yeah.
He did disappear then?
So she claims.
She said he was nervous, scared, in a jam of some sort.
Yeah, I remember. That's what she said to me.
Well?
Mace, we get 20, 30 disappearances a month like that. You know why?
No.
Your average guy who disappears fades out for two reasons. They both begin with a D. Dames or debts. So his wife, his mother, his sister, his girlfriend, whoever's left holding the bag, she comes in here to try to sweeten the pot. They figure if they can throw a little mystery into it, a little hint of homicide, maybe we'll try harder.
So what you're saying is you don't believe her?
What I'm saying is, don't worry about it, Mace.
So what's so funny?
That's exactly like the line in your show. When your boss, Inspector Kelly, tries to touch you off a case, don't worry about it, Mace.
Yeah, and I always answer, okay, but do you mind if I scout around a little bit? Well?
What, Mace?
Do you? Do you mind if I scout around a little bit?
Yeah? Who? Oh, what are you talking about? I can't believe it. It must be a joke. Yeah, all right, send him in. Mace Hacker?
Mr. Kazmaier.
Why, it is. It is Mace Hacker.
Do you mind if I come in?
Oh, sure. Come on in.
Thank you.
Sit down. Oh, what can I do for you?
I want to talk to you about George Fluitt.
George Fluitt?
I understand he drove a truck for you.
Oh, yeah, he did.
What do you know about him?
All I know is he hasn't been into work for over a week now.
Do you have any idea why?
No.
Was he in any kind of trouble that you know of?
Trouble? No, not at all.
Are you in any sort of trouble, Mr. Kazmaier?
Me? In trouble? What kind of a question is that?
A very simple question.
Now, wait a minute. Are you actually working with the police?
You didn't answer the question.
Well, no. No. I'm not in any trouble.
I may be back. Thank you, Mr. Kazmaier. You've been a lot of help.
You, resting?
Oh, no. Just going over my lines. Come on in, Perry. When am I doing the set?
You've got about an hour. Listen, I got a phone call from that cop. You know, the technical advisor for the series, Roxfield.
Yeah?
Yeah. Kind of weird thing. He said you'd been in to see him.
That's right.
About a real case. And he had this crazy notion that you were actually talking to him like a cop who wanted to work on it.
Well, they're not doing anything on it. If you ask me, this guy's been murdered.
How do you know the guy's been murdered?
Call it one of my famous hacker hunches.
Now, wait a minute. You can't go around on the assumption you're a real cop. And she's not even a good-looking dame.
Who isn't?
I'm putting a couple of things together. First, you throw some lines into a script about a dame named Mrs. Fluitt. All this out of left field. Then later, the inspector calls me and tells me you're trying to involve yourself in the disappearance of a guy named George Fluitt. So I drove out to look. Who is this Mrs. Fluitt to you?
She asked me to find him.
Why you?
Because to her, I'm a cop named Mace Hacker.
Yeah. I can understand that. To her, you're Mace Hacker. But who are you to you?
Who am I?
Yeah. Who are you?
Well, who is he? All during our story so far, we've had little bits and pieces of suggestion, innuendo, even a certain amount of hard evidence. But the central question remains, as it must, until, of course, we solve it, one way or another, in Act 3, shortly. Most of us are fated to live out our fantasies in private. However, here we have an actor named Alvin J. Miller, who plays the role of a television cop named Mace Hacker so convincingly that quite a few people have come to think of him as Mace Hacker. Indeed, their number has become so large that he's beginning to believe it himself.
What are you trying to do, Mace?
I'm gonna find the killer of George Fluitt.
But you're not...
I'm not what?
You're not a real cop.
I'm Mace Hacker.
Now, listen. It happens. It happens to all of them sometimes, especially to actors who play doctors and detectives. You get so involved in it, after a while it seems to be real.
It is real.
No, it is not. It's just a story that comes up on a screen for an hour, and it's gone. You turn off the picture, and it's all gone.
But I'm still here. Mace Hacker is still here.
Well, a lot of this is my fault. I've been working it too hard. Listen, maybe you'd better...
I know what you're going to say. Maybe I should see a doctor.
Why not? Why should you be the only big star that's never been to a shrink?
Mace Hacker has to help this woman.
Why?
Because she's getting the runaround from everybody else. Tell me, Mrs. Fluid, have the police been out here to see you?
No.
Do they know where you live?
Yes, they must. They took down my address.
They know where your husband works?
Yes, it's all on the form I filled out.
How did your husband get along with his employer, Mr. Kazmaier?
All right, I suppose.
You suppose?
Well, I told you he would never talk about business. I would assume if they didn't get along, Mr. Kazmaier would have fired him. It's that simple, isn't it?
You live in a simple world, Mrs. Fluid.
I'm sorry.
And you still insist you have no idea why your husband should have been nervous or frightened that night?
No, sir.
Just exactly how much did your husband make a week?
I told you he never discussed business with me.
What did you do for money?
He gave me some to run the household.
How much?
As much as I needed.
How much did it come to?
About $200 a week.
And he paid all the bills?
Yes, I suppose so.
Did he keep any papers around the house?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I keep telling you I don't know anything about business.
But you know about this. It's a light switch, see? It turns on the electricity. You have to pay the utility company money for it, right? And this, see? It's a telephone. And it happens to be in working order. And every month the company sends you a bill.
Well, yes, but...
There's a mortgage on this house, and every month the bank has to be paid. So where are all these bills kept? Where's your husband's checkbook? Where does he keep his records?
I told you, I don't know.
You're lying.
You have no right to talk to me like that.
How much does your husband take home a week? Not enough to give you $200 for your pocketbook. Not enough to maintain a place like this. So where does the money come from?
I don't know.
You never asked yourself, how does a truck driver pay for this kind of a setup?
I told you there was a legacy.
What legacy? Where's the letter from the lawyer?
I never asked him.
You never asked him anything. Because you didn't want to know. But you knew there had to be something dishonest going on.
No,
You're living in this house 3 years now, Mrs. Fluid. Where did you live before? And please don't tell me you don't remember.
I didn't say that.
You had a 2-room flat over on Vanderlee. Not such a hot neighborhood. Your husband worked for a big national outfit, Universal Transport. But everything changed the day he took the job with Kazmaier. Didn't it? Didn't it?
Yes.
Why?
What do you want me to tell you?
The truth.
The truth. Well, I taught at Downstate. I was one of those plain-looking girls who did well at school, but not so good at other things. Like dates. It's an old story.
They're the best kind.
All my friends said it couldn't work. He and I, we were from 2 different worlds. He'd never even finished high school, but he was a man. And he was handsome. And I guess he was in awe of me. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
He just couldn't believe his good luck. That someone like me could be attracted to someone like him. At first, I couldn't believe it myself. I come from a very poor background. I worked hard to put myself through school. I always yearned for nice things.
And so you started to demand them.
It's funny how it worked. I never said one word.
That can be the loudest demand of all.
That's right. The money started to roll in. It's the only way I can describe it.
And you never asked him a single question.
I couldn't.
Why not?
Because I had to justify it to myself. And so I created a kind of make-believe world where everything was all right. And then when he disappeared, I couldn't accept it. So I also had to go to a make-believe detective. What else can I tell you?
I guess you told me everything. Inspector Rockfield, how are you doing on the fluid case?
Look, Mace.
No. You look. She walks in here. She says, my husband disappeared. She shows you his picture, a real handsome guy. You look at her, a very plain Jane. So you say to yourself, simple. He walked out on her. That's what you said, wasn't it?
Now, wait a minute.
That's how you wrote it off.
Who says we
You
wrote...
take down all the information as a matter of form. George Fluid, truck driver, 37 Primrose Way in Cerro Beach, age 36. Employer, Kazmaier, Inc.
You wouldn't happen to go for this dame, would you?
And then you took the sheet of paper and dropped it into the files. There's a terrific story on that sheet of paper. But nobody around here bothered to read it.
What story?
How does a truck driver make enough money to live in a house on Encero Beach? What kind of salary does he get at Kazmaier? Is he moonlighting? If so, at what? If not, why is he worth so much to Kazmaier? Kazmaier imports novelties from the Far East. So, what else could they be importing? 100 questions. But how many did you ever ask yourselves? None.
Now look, this investigation is proceeding along in an orderly manner.
Hey, you wouldn't kid an old buddy, would you? I'm telling you, the secret lies at Kazmaier.
What are you doing here?
Good evening, Mr. Kazmaier. What are you doing here?
You again, the one who plays a detective.
You haven't answered my question. What are you doing here?
Oh, I got every right to be here. This happens to be my warehouse.
Uh-huh. You keep very late hours.
That's how to get ahead in this world. How'd you get in?
I jimmied open a window in the back.
Well, the burglar alarm must be out of order.
No, it's fine. I happen to know what to do about burglar alarms.
Oh. Is there any reason why I shouldn't call the police?
Absolutely. Because I'd tell them what I was looking for.
Oh, yeah? What are you looking for?
Look, Kazmaier, you and I could save a lot of time if you told me. Drugs? Diamonds, is it? Or counterfeit?
You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, you caught me robbing your warehouse, so call the cops.
Nah.
No? Why not? If you're on the level.
Oh, you're a famous television detective. What are you looking for, publicity? Why should I give it to you?
Why? Because this is a perfect setup for something crooked. You're a reputable businessman. Nobody bothers you. Maybe your truck driver figures it out. Maybe it was his idea. Anyhow, he is in on it. He started making a lot of money. Now, you tell me the rest. Was he becoming too greedy? Too dangerous? Or maybe the other thing. Maybe his conscience started to bother him. Maybe he wanted to get out. No, Kazmaier, don't try to open that desk drawer. And just keep your hands exactly where I can see them.
That gun of yours, is that the one you use in the show? Is it loaded with real bullets or blanks? Mine has live ammunition. I'm betting yours doesn't. Should we find out?
It doesn't matter. They're wise to you.
Nobody's wise to me except maybe you. And in a little while, you're not going to make too much difference.
You killed him, didn't you?
Yeah, he's beginning to ask for too much money. He married a lady with very expensive tastes.
Where'd you hide his body?
Same place I'm gonna hide yours. Come on, let's go.
What makes you think I'm going quietly?
I'd hate to have to drag your body out to my car.
So why should I make it easy for you?
Okay, have it your way.
Don't shoot, Inspector. We can take him alive.
What?
I'm sorry, Mr. Kazmaier. You fell for the oldest trick in the book.
Listen, look, we could make a deal.
What kind of deal?
In a warehouse. I got a shipment of drugs. You were right. $500,000 just for you.
It's not enough.
All right, name your price.
There isn't enough money in the whole world, Kazmaier. And just don't you make a move. Yeah? Give me Inspector Rockfield.
Mace, it's absolutely fantastic. You actually found the killer of this fellow Fluid. You solved the case.
Yeah.
Well, how'd you do it?
Oh, how do I always do it? Just routine police work.
The media's eating it up. The whole country's talking about it.
It was a good show.
What was a good show?
Listen, Perry, for a while back there, the scripts were all beginning to sound the same. But this time, the writers really wrote a great one. About Irene Fluid and her husband.
Mace, that wasn't a show.
You never even meet the guy. But, you know, you can picture the whole relationship he has with his wife. The writers could only come up with something like that every week.
We're ready on the set, Perry.
Yeah, okay. You ready, Mace?
You know me, Perry. I'm always ready.
All right, everybody. Places. Roll 'em.
Mace Hacker, script number 52, scene 1, take 1.
The problem. Does any of us really know who we are and where we are? It's all rather complex, you know. It would be relatively simple if we knew the difference between reality and illusion. At one time, the separation was quite obvious. Now, it may not even exist. But I do, and I shall return shortly. At one time, our heroes were drawn from real life. They were real people who did real things. Buffalo Bill actually rode a horse in the wild, untamed West and shot buffalo. Today, our Western heroes are movie stars. Our great soldiers are movie stars. Our great doctors and detectives and lawyers are movie stars. And we invest these shadows on the screen with reality. And it isn't necessarily their fault if we take their make-believe seriously. And if, after a while, they do too. Our cast included Fred Gwynne, Joyce Gordon, Robert Dryden, and Ian Martin. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams. The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents...
I'm E.G. Marshall. There's a haunting, lovely song in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night which has troubled my dreams, and perhaps yours. Come away, death. Let me in sad cypress be laid. If it hasn't haunted you yet, perhaps it might after the story I bring you now. A story which, not unsurprisingly, has to do with death. Our mystery drama, Come Away, Death, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars William Griffiths and Norman Rose. You've all heard of the old Brokar mansion, naturally. Facing the river, occupying a full block in the heart of the city, with its gardens stretching all the way to the river, and its towering shade trees shielding the imposing bulk of the Renaissance house with its great copper roof. It's gone now, of course, to be replaced by a huge, high-rise apartment building. But it isn't so long ago that the last of the Brokars, Simon, lived and refused to die there, no matter how many people, in and out of the real estate business, were eagerly awaiting his demise.
Oh, good evening, Mr. Rensselaer.
Good evening, Mrs. Marbles. How is Mr. Brokar?
Why, he seems to be better, sir.
Is the doctor still with him?
No, Dr. Manning left just a few minutes ago.
They're not putting him in the hospital again?
Oh, Dr. Manning said not.
Yes. What is it, Mrs. Marbles?
Forgive me, Mr. Rensselaer. Just the doctor, and now you here. Oh, I've been with Mr. Brokar as housekeeper for over 35 years.
And I don't know anyone else who could have taken it, Mrs. Marbles. Oh, he's a difficult man.
Like all strong men. Oh, that's what's so awful, I suppose. He's still a big, lusty, healthy man. That he should be cut down in his prime like this.
Dr. Manning thinks it's that imminent?
Well, you'll have to ask Mr. Brokar about that. Or the doctor himself.
Well, since I've been called in, I can guess perhaps it is. I'd better get on up, or is he resting?
No, he wanted you shown up right away.
I better not keep him waiting.
Mr. Rensselaer?
Yes?
Do you... Will he be changing his will? Is that what it is?
No, I don't think you have anything to worry about, Mrs. Marple.
Oh, it wasn't myself I was concerned about. It was Miss Nita.
Oh, yes. Well, you understand there's nothing I can say one way or another.
Oh, that sweet little niece of his has given up her private life to move in here and help nurse Mr. Brokar ever since that first attack of... Well, ever since they discovered that he was ill. And I'd hate to see her left out in the cold if anything happens. I don't want to see her lose out to that cold, greedy little trollop who, in my opinion, is more than anything else responsible for the state he is in now. Oh, can't you do something?
Mrs. Marples, I am a lawyer. I appreciate and applaud your concern, but that's as far as I can go. Is Nita here now?
Yes. She's in the library with her fiancé, Dr. Lawrence.
Very well. Perhaps I'll have a chance to talk to her for a moment when I come down. Now I'd better get upstairs.
Perry, what are you doing at that half-open door?
Shh, Nita, hold it a minute.
Will you stop acting like a private eye?
I am a private eye. Watching the legal beagle ascend to Mount Olympus and listening at the same time for the below-stairs gossip.
Oh, come away from that door. What do you care, anyway?
But I do care, lover. Mr. Brokar looms very large in my life, since he's all that stands between me and the love of my life.
Oh, that isn't fair. Uncle Simon isn't keeping us apart.
Oh, isn't he?
Then how come we're not married and you won't let me take you away from all this?
But you know how ill Uncle Simon is. He needs me. I'm the only family he had.
Correction, love bug. He has Mrs. Marples to take care of him.
Oh, no, she's not a relative.
So, all right, he has that snaky secretary, that voluptuous Venus, Miss Bunny Huggins, to provide that.
Well, I'm not going to let that... She's angling to marry him now she knows he's dying.
So?
Well, I just don't want to see him taken.
Have you ever thought maybe he deserves it? Well, he spent his life doing that to everyone else that crosses his path. How about maybe he ought to get his comeuppance for a change?
Perry, he was my mom's brother. When she died, I swear she worried more about him than anything or anyone else. I mean, it was crazy. She was 10 years younger, but she always treated him like her baby brother.
That barracuda?
Mom said all that hard stuff was just a front.
Come on, Nita. As far as her brother Simon was concerned, your mother was blind as a bat.
Maybe, but I've still got to hang in, do what I can.
Nita.
What?
It isn't the dough, is it? I mean, look, I'm not going to be an intern forever.
No, it isn't the dough. It's just... Well, I don't want to see someone who's, well, sort of my own get taken. And as long as there's any way of shutting out Miss Bunny Huggins, I feel I owe at least that much to my mom.
How about me?
Oh, darling. Can't you wait just this little bit longer?
You're sure of Dr. Manning's diagnosis?
I am a registered nurse. That's why I came here.
I mean, there's no chance of remission? It is terminal?
No chance. It's terminal.
Damn it, Rensselaer, I won't accept it. A little pain, all right, but die? Oh, not me. Not Simon Brokaw. I have too much left to do. I'm not about to die, no matter what the doctor says.
And what am I here for?
To change my will.
Why does it have to be changed in the prime of health?
Because I've made up my mind. I'm going to take the final step at last. At 55. I'm going to be married.
Well, congratulations, I suppose. Do I know the intended bride?
Well, of course you do. Who else would I... Oh.
Want me to get done?
No, I'll get up myself. Hello.
Simon?
Oh, Bunny. Who else?
No one. Oh, I knew that deep, ticklish, sexy voice the moment it answered. Oh, am I interrupting anything?
Oh, no. Well, just a conference with my lawyer.
Oh, do you have him there, darling? Why?
It seemed about time.
Honey, you haven't been feeling sick again, have you?
Oh, no, it's nothing for you to worry about.
Oh, but of course it is. You know how I worry all the time.
Now, Bunny, when I get through with my lawyer, you won't ever have to worry again.
Oh, but I do, darling. I don't want anything to happen to my baby. But a girl has to be practical. Just a reasonable settlement.
Yeah, well, let me suggest it. Joint property when we're married and sole heir if anything happens to me.
Married?
Bunny, is that enough? I need you so much.
Oh, you draw those papers up, darling, and at last we'll be what we always should have been together. If you need me, call me. If not, let's have a lovely drink together when we sign the wedding agreement. Oh, I love you.
Yeah, I love you.
Bye now.
Bunny, Bye. All right, Rensselaer. Let's get down to business. I want to redraw my will.
Well, before we do that, can we talk just a moment?
Oh, lawyers. All right, what about?
What is your hurry to rush into this marriage?
Well, I don't know how long I'll be around to enjoy it.
Simon, I can't.
There isn't any discussion, you see. Now or never. And I choose now.
All right, this is for the present, Simon, but do you have to mortgage yourself for the future, too?
You're a man of my age. Wouldn't you be tempted to mortgage your future, too, for a girl like this, or someone like her, that no man could ever sensibly dream of having unless...
Unless she was bought and paid for.
We'll pretend that was never said. Just let me go in my own way, and the devil take the hindmost.
Yes? Who is it?
Mr. Morris, for Mr. Brokaw.
Oh, is he expecting you?
He very well should be.
We have strict orders. I'm not sure I can let you in.
It doesn't matter, because you really can't keep me out.
What did you say your name was?
Morris. The name is a convenience.
What does that mean?
It's not exact, and it is borrowed.
You're an imposter.
Oh, no. That's the last thing I am.
What are you doing here? What do you want?
I've come for you, Mr. Brokaw. It's time.
What do you mean you come for me? It's time.
The name of Morris is good enough for day-to-day use and creates no difficulties. As I said, it's borrowed from the Latin, mors, which in turn means death. My name is Death, Mr. Brokaw. And as I said, I have an appointment with you.
No. No, I'm not ready to die yet.
But then, who is?
Well, this can't be happening. I'll have you thrown out.
I am the one unwelcome visitor no one can refuse. Now, I beg you not to excite yourself. For this encounter, time is standing still. And you are frozen at the brink between life and afterlife.
Get out of here.
Oh, really? You cannot threaten me.
I'm not going ready to die.
Well, the choice isn't yours.
No, but I'm not ready.
As I said, whoever is.
You don't understand. I'm rich. I have my health. Never mind what that stupid doctor says. I've never been married, but I've just found the woman I wanted, who excites me, thrills me.
I don't mean to interrupt. That's rather a silly thing to say, isn't it?
What?
I mean, that's really basically what I do. I make a career of interrupting. You come right down to it.
You have to be so casual about the whole thing?
Oh, I don't mean to be. You see, it's all become such a ritual. It's hard not to be bored. The same thing over and over again.
Well, I'm glad it bores you that much. Shall we just call off the whole thing?
Well, unfortunately, I have no say in the matter. I am only an instrument, a messenger. And the message I have to bring you is that you are dead.
But I can't die. I keep trying to tell you. I'm 56 years old. I have millions. I'm going to be married to a wonderful and exciting woman named Bunny Huggins, and it isn't fair that I can't be left alive to enjoy her. Now, look, I'll give anything, whatever you ask.
Now, come, Mr. Brokaw. Don't you think that I've been offered every kind of bribe through the years?
But, here, look. Here's a picture of Bunny. Now, could you take any man away from that?
Yeah. She is attractive. There's no doubt.
Oh, yeah. You see why I have to stay alive.
No, not at all.
It's hopeless. I have to die.
Well, there is one possibility.
I'll take it. What?
As I said, I am world-weary. I'm tired to exhaustion. And, now, this Bunny is a most extraordinary-looking woman.
Yeah.
Now, I might be persuaded to take a brief hiatus.
Yeah, well, how long?
Well, that somewhat depends on Bunny and what develops.
What do you mean, Bunny?
Mr. Brokaw, if I should make any arrangement with you to hold off your demise, well, naturally, there would have to be some transference of personality.
Oh. What does that mean?
Well, it's not very difficult. You see, I would take your place, and you would take mine.
For how long?
Well, I can't answer that. For as long as it suits.
Well, now, wait a minute. You take my place, I can imagine, but, I take your place? What?
Yes, you would become a messenger like me. Oh, it's quite a busy job.
I'd go around telling people they're dead?
Well, somebody has to.
But, well, how would I know which ones to go to?
No problem at all. You'll be told. Yeah. You know, the more I think of it, a vacation from my appointed rounds could be very invigorating. All right, Mr. Brokaw, you brought it up. Would you like to make the swap?
This is a curious and rather new situation, isn't it? The devil tempts, The devil makes a bargain for the human soul, but the devil never makes an open trade, does he? Then, of course, this isn't the devil. It's death. Isn't he as sure as taxes? Or is there some escape? I shall return shortly with Act 2. We return to our strange confrontation. In the master bedroom of the huge, gloomy old Brokaw mansion, two men face each other. Men? The one in the bed, Simon Brokaw, is certainly mortal, since he is dying. The one who sits facing him, Mr. Morris, claims to be death. He has just offered Simon one way out from the inevitable. To avoid dying, he can exchange places with that grim, gray specter who has been sent to claim his life.
I'm waiting for your answer, Simon Brokaw.
What proof do I have?
Proof?
That you're really dead.
Well, I'm here, am I not? How could I have forced my way into the house?
I'll need more than that.
Oh, dear. Dear me. Hold out your hand.
Why?
So I can touch it. You asked for proof.
Very well.
Now remember, this is only the first brush of death.
Horrible. Cold, clammy blankness.
You're convinced now?
Supposing I am, what is it like to be dead?
Well, I'm the last person to ask that. I work only this side. Pass the message, deliver the goods.
And then?
Then? I don't know. You see, I really don't want to know. I'm satisfied enough with my own job, though it tends to be a little lonely and repetitive. It's why the idea of a vacation appeals to me.
Maybe I wouldn't like your job.
Maybe. It's a chance you take. But then the arrangement can't be permanent.
Why not?
Why not? Because eventually it must come to an end. On the other hand, must it?
What do you mean?
It's an interesting speculation. If I've taken over your life and delegated my responsibilities to you, why should we not, in fact, both be immortal?
Immortal?
Yes, that's your wish. And mine is to have a little more fun, which I certainly might have by living your life. Yes, the more I think of it. It's a very good exchange.
But what would I take with me from my life?
Nothing but yourself. All the rest is mine. Now, are you ready to make the swap?
What other choice have I?
To die.
All right. How do we go about this?
Well, we just exchange places.
You mean I get out of bed and give you my clothes?
Oh, I think it can be simpler than that. If you're ready.
All right, I'm ready.
Now let's make it as simple as possible. Just take a deep breath. Oh, and close your eyes. That should do it, I think. You can open your eyes. You feel any different?
Of course I feel different. I'm sitting in the chair now while you're in the bed.
Naturally. We've exchanged places. That was the idea, wasn't it?
Yes, but I'm not ready. I don't know what to do.
I told you. You don't have to. You will be told.
Yes, but I can't.
You hear something?
Yes. I can't stay. I'm being called. I'm needed somewhere else.
Oh, that's the way it goes. I began to find it deadly tiresome. He's gone. Oh, poor fellow. He's going to be very busy from now on, while satin sheets, down pillows. Oh, it's very luxurious. No wonder Miss Bunny finds herself attracted. Bunny, where is that picture? If the presence lives up to the picture. Now, let's see. He must have her phone number in a book somewhere. What was the name? Yes, Huggins. Oh, what promise in that name. Here we are. Bunny Huggins.
Uncle Simon, what are you doing downstairs?
You must be Nita.
Of course Uncle, are you all right?
Oh, never better, Nita, dear. Where's the young doctor?
Perry? Well, you know, he's a little edgy about coming around here.
Because of me?
Well, yes and no.
Well, what's he worried about? I'll cut you out of my will?
He couldn't care less. If he had his way, he'd have me cut out of here.
Can't say as I blame him. It's a gloomy old dump. Why don't you take his advice and fly the musty coop?
What?
Why don't you marry him and be done with it?
But I feel a kind of responsibility for you.
Why?
Well, after all, I am a nurse.
One thing I don't need anymore. So feel free.
I just can't walk out like that.
All right. Let's have the wedding here. Would you like me to give you away?
Give me... Oh, I can't think of anything I'd like better, if you really mean it.
Of course I do. If you'll excuse me, I'll get it. That must be my secretary, Miss Huggins. This is a moment I'm really looking forward to.
He's agreed to the wedding and wants to give you away?
Yes, Perry, darling. I can't tell you what he's... I mean, he's a different man. There are remissions in this kind of disease, aren't there?
Oh, not from what I learned from Dr. Manning.
Well, Manning's kind of old-fashioned. I'd swear that Uncle has to be in some kind of remission. I mean, he's in marvelous shape. Isn't that great?
If we can get married to this, so set the date. Let's gather ye rosebuds while we may. It is what you want, isn't it?
You're what I want.
But, Simon, sweetie, why couldn't we make it a double wedding?
Because I'm not quite sure that I want to get married.
But I thought that was all wrapped up and delivered some time ago. Oh, I swear to heaven, sugar, I just don't know you anymore. You're like another man.
You know, I feel like another man.
I reckon that's just great, isn't it?
I don't plan on dying anymore, Bunny.
Well, I should hope not.
You are not going to be a quick widow ready to wallow in the lap of luxury.
Who said I wanted to be a widow?
Well, it's part of the game, isn't it?
I'm not interested in games, Simon.
Even the ones of chance? You still could win the jackpot.
If I decided to go.
You would walk out on me just like that?
Oh, I swear, Simon, honey, I don't know how to talk to you anymore. You're like a stranger.
Well, I have to admit that I have changed.
Well, if that's the way you feel and you want to get rid of poor little Bunny, I can bow out.
Mm-hmm. If you want.
It's going to cost you. There's the settlement.
What settlement?
Why, Simon Broker, how can you talk like that? How can you expect to use up the best years of my life and think you can walk away free?
Now, whoever said I wanted to walk away free? As a matter of fact, I was looking forward to some of the best years of my life with you. But I mean, with you. And on my terms.
Well, that might not satisfy me all the way.
So, see my lawyer. Or let me see him first. And after that, we can talk again.
Naturally, I had the new will drawn up, Simon.
And this is it?
Well, to the best of my belief, is substantially what you indicated to me at our last meeting.
Basically, except for very token amounts, it leaves my entire fortune to Miss Bunny Huggins.
According to your wish.
A wish with which I sense you are not in agreement.
Well, it's an old argument. I have no wish to reopen it. I'll call in a couple of my people to witness your signature.
Of what?
The new will.
Oh, yes, that. Well, we won't have any need of this anymore. The old one will do well enough since I don't plan to die. Not for a long time yet. I'm sorry that you had all this work for nothing.
Oh, I'm not. I never saw any labor go more cheerfully down the drain. I'd even break my lawyer's old moss back and say, I don't know what the devil has gotten into you, Simon Brokaw. But whatever it is, I'm for it all the way.
Oh, good evening, Mr. Morris. It's you again.
Yes, Mrs. Marples. May I come in?
If you feel you must. But it won't do any good. Mr. Brokaw isn't here.
He's still in Las Vegas?
Why, no. He left there a week or so ago on a trip around the world.
Around the world? Is Miss Huggins with him, do you know?
His secretary?
Yes.
Why, I believe so.
I thought I heard something about a wedding.
Oh, heavens, no. That was Mr. Brokaw's niece. Oh, such a lovely ceremony, and he gave the bride away himself.
Little Nita.
Miss Nita, Mrs. Lawrence, it would be now, is here at the moment. If you would like to see her.
Oh, no, she wouldn't know me from... She wouldn't know me. Tell Mr. Brokaw I'll look in again. As soon as he's back.
Good evening. Can I help you?
Oh, good evening, Mrs. Lawrence.
You know me?
Well, of you. My name is, Morris. I'm, an acquaintance of your Uncle Simon. May I see him?
I'm afraid he's not here.
Oh. Why, I thought he was due back from his trip.
Oh, yes, we're expecting him as it happens.
Well, then I wonder if I could just come in and wait.
Well, tonight it might be a little inconvenient.
It's rather pressing, and I seldom have time to...
Don't bother about the bags, Bunny. The man will get them.
Well, I just need my cosmetic bag.
You don't need that or anything else. Now, let's get in and tell everybody the good news. Hello. What are you doing here?
I have to see you, Mr. Brokaw. It's rather urgent.
Well, tonight is scarcely the best time.
I have a busy schedule. It's my only time. I'm desperate.
All right. Come in. Let's all get inside where it's warm. You picked an awkward time.
Well, I've been trying to see you ever since we made our ill-advised bargain.
Ill-advised?
At least from my side.
So, what is it you want?
I want to call it off. I want to go back being myself, being you.
I wouldn't blame you for a moment, dear boy. I find it just as delightful as perhaps you remember. Too delightful for me to think of giving up. You see, I am perfectly satisfied as things are, and I wouldn't change them back again for the world.
Now, this is an interesting twist. Death calls for someone and is refused out of hand. Of course, he did relinquish his peculiar power over this one individual when they struck a bargain. Or did he? Come to think of it, there are so many ramifications from that special agreement which we have never probed or looked into. That will be for when I return shortly with Act 3. So here we are with another confrontation. The same principles, but a vastly different set of circumstances. A man comes to death to beg for his questionable gift and is refused by death, who has found that the joys of worldly living are infinitely preferable to the cold, lonely world he used to occupy, while apparently Simon Brokaw, who eagerly exchanged his world for death's barren one in order to escape dying, is bitterly regretting his bargain.
You've got to call it off.
Got to? Why?
Because I can't stand this ghoulish job you foisted on me. I want to be back in my own body again, to be myself.
If you should become Simon Brokaw again, my first commission as Death would be to claim you, as I was sent to do in the first place. You would have to die immediately.
Well, I'll take my chances on that.
What chances?
Well, you look robust enough to me. You're healthy as a pig and eat and drink like one. You throw my money around like water. You've stolen my mistress and enjoy her. You charter planes to fly like an Arabian oil sheik. Gamble as though you were King Farouk. Enjoy wine, song, and my woman to a fault. You certainly seem remarkably healthy to me.
My dear Mr. Morris.
Don't call me that.
It's your present name. Oh, very well. Death, if you prefer.
I don't prefer. I'm Simon Brokaw.
Were, my dear man, were. I am now Simon Brokaw. And after such a long contact with the dead and dying, I haven't the slightest intention of giving up my contact with the living. First, I have never been so happy and satisfied in my life. Second, while I occupy the body of Simon Brokaw, it functions at peak performance. To let you reoccupy it would be a total waste, since life would be snuffed out in that moment. And last, I don't want to return to being the messenger of death, ever.
I can't blame you for that. There isn't a moment's peace.
It does keep you hopping.
There's no enjoyment in it.
My friend, you chose to be where you are. You live with it.
Supposing I just plain up and quit.
Oh, you can't do that.
How do you know? Did you ever try it?
Well, no, but... there, you see. You hear that?
What am I going to do?
Ask not for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. I'm sorry you had to dash away, Mr. Morris. So, there we are. A little cognac all around to celebrate the first family dinner since Bunny and I returned.
Oh, thank you, Uncle Simon.
Mr. Brokaw?
Sweetheart.
A little toast to our future together, whatever it may be. Cheers.
Here's what I got you. Light air.
Perry, why are you looking at me so quizzically?
Oh, was I? I'm sorry.
Well, don't be. You have every right. I would just like to know what you were thinking.
Perry, dear,
No, Nita. I really want to hear.
Well, all right, sir. I was thinking to myself how incredible it is what's happened to you in the last weeks. I mean, you're a different man.
Of course I'm a different man. Why shouldn't I be? I walked away from death, out of the shadows, and for the first time in my life, I've learned how to enjoy myself. I've learned to give instead of eternally taking.
Oh, that's my kind, generous, sweet darling. But there are limits, you know.
Yes, well, we can discuss those when we're alone, Bunny. For the moment, let me enjoy my family gathered around me.
What was that?
It's Mrs. Marbles.
An accident?
Come on, Perry. It sounded as though she could have fallen down the stairs. Oh. What is it, Perry?
I can't tell yet. Back, internal injuries, maybe a stroke. We got to get her to the hospital immediately.
Bunny's phoning for an ambulance.
Well, I'd better get on the phone myself. I should have enough clout to shake out emergency faster.
Mr. Brokaw, I have to say something.
She wants to try to tell you something, Uncle.
Very well. Mrs. Marples, what are you trying to say?
The man, the thing, he was here.
What man? What thing?
He said the bell tolled for him to come for me. But to tell you, he would come no more.
Is she dead?
No, I think she's just lapsed into a coma. Oh, Perry.
Yeah, what is it, Nina?
Is the ambulance coming?
Yeah, it's on the way.
Well, you'd better have a look at her.
What? She dead?
I don't know. There's no pulse, no heartbeat, but she's still breathing. It's like she was... I don't know how to say it. It's...
Like She had died, but death hadn't come to claim her. Morris, all right, Simon Brokaw, whatever you want to call yourself, where are you? Come on, man, you can't do it. You can't stop the process. Death is a fact of life. You can't stop people from dying. Is that what you're up to? Is that what you're trying? Yes, who is it? Wait a minute. Why don't you come in, Bunny, what do you want?
Well, I thought I heard you talking to someone.
Oh, I was talking, and this has a very special truth. I was trying to talk to myself.
Simon, are you all right?
I wish I could answer that sensibly. Why?
Well, you were so funny after they took that poor old Mrs. Marples away. I know you must have been very fond of her, but she was an old lady, and even if it was an accident, she had to die sometime.
Yes, only she didn't.
Didn't what?
She didn't die. Won't die. Can't die.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
It was Macbeth who said he heard a voice say, "Macbeth, does murder sleep?"
Well, who's Macbeth?
He's a character in a Shakespeare play.
Well, what's he got to do with that?
With me, Bunny, with me. You see, I just may have... I may have murdered Death.
What do you think, Perry?
What could I think? I'm only a month out of internship. Every big-shot doctor in the hospital has done his own workup on Mrs. Marples, and no one can explain it.
Look, this isn't like you could pull any plugs.
I know, Nita. We're not sustaining life in that old lady. I mean, medical science isn't.
But what life is there? No heartbeat, no circulation. The encephalograms are flat. No sign there's any brain activity.
You don't have to lay it out. By every clinical test, Mrs. Marples is dead. Except one. She's still breathing. I tell you, it's weird. And she's only part of it.
What do you mean, Perry?
Look, honey, how many of our terminal cases would we have expected to lose in the last 3 days while Mrs. Marple has been here? I mean, in the ordinary course of events.
I don't know. 5 or 10, maybe.
In a hospital this size, more like 15. And how many have we lost? None. I can think of 6 of them in my wing alone that are just like her. And we're not alone. I mean, I've been checking with other hospitals and the police, and even the papers have been making cracks about it. Do you know there hasn't been one obituary notice in these last few days? No homicides, no people died in traffic accidents, nobody drowned or strangled or slipped in the bathtub or fell off a building or burned up or... I tell you, Nita, it's like... I'm afraid to say it.
Say what, Perry? Come on. Say it.
It's like maybe nobody's going to die anymore.
Oh, Mr. Rensselaer, I'm so glad you're here. Come in.
Hi, Miss Huggins. What is it?
Well, it's Simon. I mean, Mr. Brokaw. He's been like a wild man this evening. Oh, what did he say to you on the phone?
Just that he wanted to see me.
Well, you don't think he's going to change his will again?
I'm sure I haven't any idea. Where is he?
Upstairs in his bedroom.
Then if you'll excuse me...
Oh, Mr. Rensselaer.
Yeah?
I told you he was out of his mind. I warn you. He has a gun.
Well, he always has had. I don't think he'll want to use it on me.
There isn't any more to say. I just wanted you to see that I am rational and in possession of all my senses.
Well, we've made tape, as you suggested, which will attest to that better than any words I could use in testimony.
So, the will stands up.
I can see no reason why not.
No matter what happens subsequently?
I promise you that I will see to it personally, that your last wishes are carried out. But I hope not for a long while yet.
That's as it may be. Bunny deserves some consideration, but not all of it. Never all of it. Or most of it. I want Nita and Perry to have that.
Yeah, as you have indicated, they'll have it.
Good. And, now I'd like to be alone.
Are you sure?
I'm as sure as I am that the world deserves to be a good place to live in. Good night, Rensselaer.
Good night, Simon.
Which it never can be unless death has a place in it again. My name was Death. I relinquished it for trivial reasons. All over the world, a frightening horde of those who should have passed over are waiting for this moment. I took this body that was Simon Brokaws, and I was weak enough not to relinquish it. I want to give it back. Return, Simon Brokaw, who has broken the faith. Return. For if you think you have stilled the bell that tolls, for you I will make it ring with the sound of this gun. Where are you? Then wherever you have gone, I consign our immortal souls to oblivion, or whatever judgment shall be rendered there, and your mortal flesh by this act to the resumption of what man may turn his face against, but which he cannot live without.
It was a night long to be remembered. There were a record number of deaths, a strange epidemic that had no discernible cause, but which seemed to restore a balance in nature. Among the obituaries was one for Simon Brokaw. In none of them was there any mention of a Mr. Morris, which is not too surprising, of course, since he himself was the one who pointed out that his alias was merely a convenience, that his real name was Death. I'll be back shortly. Come away, Death. Let me in sad cypress be laid. But if you ponder it a while, is it so sad? So many deaths are merciful, so many prayed for, so many long delayed, and all of them at the last not to be questioned, but accepted. For who can cancel, change, escape that one last appointment? Our cast included Norman Rose, William Griffiths, Marion Seldes, Joan Shea, and Ian Martin. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.